Hello, hello, Kaiju Seekers. Welcome to today's stream. Today we're going to be talking about, of course, the new news on the Godzilla Kong Supernova movie. They recently announced a few days ago the said title of the film, and then there's some more stuff about the crew working on it. So we're just going to go on discussing about that, as well as the general future of the MonsterVerse, hopes, predictions, expectations, and whatnot. Hopefully, if anyone has some free time, we can let some people on, some of my usual friends and co-hosts. And if anyone down below has some talking points they want to discuss, whether about their predictions, expectations, hopes, feel free to leave down below in the comments, and we'll talk about that. But so without further ado, let's discuss the said title of the film. Of course, there's the title of Supernova, which was we were sort of expecting, or people were theorizing that the new film might have something to do with space, whether or not be the film taking place in space and or the threat coming from space. The theme of space was something that was hinted on before by I think at first it was Dan Stevens when I think the announcement came that he was coming back. He posted both like the space theme emojis, and then there was a phrase "Watch this space" when it came to the um, thing he said, which turns out to be the binary code that was in the recent teaser trailer, which I'll probably pull up in a second. That way we can all watch it and just see what we can take from that. And then there were some other the actors and actresses who also posted about it when it was coming announced. They would use the like stars, shooting stars, emojis, and so the whole theme of space really came about from that. And then lo and behold, the new title is Godzilla Kong Supernova. So it implies that something or other about space is going to be happening in that. Let's see here. So I'm quite looking forward to what we've been seeing. The teaser looked pretty good. Um, as you know, there've been other teasers before. Um, some of them have, and I guess to some people haven't lived up to the way the teaser came off in terms of like tones and setups that we saw in it. But for the most part, I'd say the teasers have done a pretty well job at hyping up the events of the coming movie, like the recent ones with the teaser of Star King, and when we got the GXK New Empire teaser, it basically set up the new villain. And then I guess this one sort of sets up the premise of the characters we're going to be following, because there is Caitlin Devers, I believe. Her character is going to be the main protagonist, as it seems, and it seems it's been revealed through this teaser that she is a Monarch receptionist. And I guess you can sort of say we saw some of that in Monarch Legacy of Monsters, because we did see a lot of the like how the employee system is set up, or we have a few of the characters there that are like Monarch employees, but they're not like field operatives. Um, we did also see that a lot of the desk jobs that are worked there in Monarch Legacy of Monsters, whenever they had like the call center scenes with the big screen that showed all the events going on. So I assume we'll probably be seeing more of that. And I would assume maybe we can get some setup through the new season 2 of Monarch, to where we'll be seeing maybe that side of Monarch in season 2 of Legacy of Monsters. And that will lead into the new film coming in like about a little under 2 years or so. So that's what I expect we'll be seeing. So I'm just gonna pull up here the let's see here. I'll go like that. Sure. So we're talking about Godzilla and Kong. I'll put that up on screen. And then let's see here. Godzilla Kong Supernova. There you go. I got the teaser going on there. It was announced on several different channels. Dangerville put it out, I think. D-Man, and then Warner Brothers and Legendary, obviously. So, and that was like an in production thing, because we had recently gotten word that they were in production, or started filming, and then we also have the official announcement that it's like officially into production. And then let me just right, copy, da, 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 and just boom, and da, da, da. So yeah, so then we're gonna share presento, share screen. So we're gonna watch a little bit of the. There you go. I can see my tab. Hope that's it. So we're sharing this, and here we have the new Godzilla Kong Supernova teaser. So obviously we have the desk set up. We have several different, I guess, desk jockeys here. People have been focusing on the screens on the back. We have the map there that people are saying shows you the outposts, the Titans, and stuff. But we also have that one where we could see the pyramids are in the background, and they look a bit more like sci-fi pyramids. So people are theorizing if either this is going to be something new in the film, or if they rebuilt the Giza pyramids, which were destroyed in Godzilla Kong New Empire. And then also there's this headline that says "Rebuilding Rio," and that's caused a lot of uh, I guess, an uproar in some sections of the fandom because, as you know, in King of the Monsters, it's implied that whenever a Titan goes through any areas, the environment is sort of jump started with new life, and so it sort of contradicts what we saw in that film with this film because we're now seeing that with I wonder how Hong Kong's doing since we never got a follow up um, as to what happened there explicitly. But here it looks like we're seeing that Rio is rebuilding or has rebuilt in the time since GXK. So um, the way I take it is that given that we're a few years ahead of King of the Monsters, I would say it can make sense that if they rebuild fast enough, that they can counteract the radiation jumpstart. Because the reason that places like Vegas and San Francisco got so uninhabitable, quote unquote, is because they kept those places as quarantine zones. So they weren't letting anyone get back in so they can rebuild or um, return to their homes or anything. Because we saw in Legacy of Monsters too that they weren't letting anyone in there at that point. And at that point, like a little under a year after the events, we're already starting to see that vegetation growth. But it's not as serious as we saw in King of the Monsters when Emma Russell was showing everything on screen. But I think that at this point, if Monarch and the governments put more effort into like a quick rebuilding of everything, they can probably get ahead of the radiation thing. So that's how I would go about it. I mean, we're at a point where now we know this is going to happen, so we can stop it if we wanted to and rebuild from the ground up. So that's how I would take it. Is it a contradiction? No, but if it is, it's not Anna Wingard's fault, so you can't say they butchered the continuity.
Thank you for calling Monarch Community Support Line.
And then we have the
Just
hotline
in,
voice,
there have been a number of Titan sightings today all over the globe.
and then we have things such as the binary code set up which, as I said, it reads out as a Godzilla Kong, watch this space. And people were going on about how saying it sets up Space Godzilla because I think depending on how you translate it or how it's set up here, it says Space Godzilla as one word. But I think that's just a mistranslation of it because it isn't coming out as that as if you translate a certain way. It's sort of just because there's no space in it. So I would assume that's the reason it says Space Godzilla either way. So I would assume that's the reason why. Yeah. And then there you have the emergency alert, reported Titan sighting, and then if you actually follow the line, you get different voice actors. One of them being, I assume, uh, um, it will be Trapper. I think Trapper's the one who's responding to the voice and letting you know what happened. And then I don't know if it's just like the AI voice that telemarketers use these days, or the whole voice uses, but maybe it's Caitlin Dever's character. Like if Trapper is one of the characters they recorded it, we can probably safely assume that it might be the other character we're watching here. So there's that. Now we have the title screen there. That's what they're calling Supernova, and I really like the title. I think it's pretty cool, and then also just how um how they incorporated the font and such. You have the classic Godzilla Kong fonts up there, the title card. And I'm wondering how they're gonna do it because for GVK they sort of did like this cool intro reminiscent of like the old Heisei movies, and then they did it didn't really change much from the announcement to the actual film of the Godzilla Kong New Empire, which I don't harp on it too much because it looks cool either way. Um, but I'm wondering to see how they do it for this one. If they're gonna do some cool intro like in GVK, it's probably one of my favorites of the MonsterVerse, that title card sequence. And then obviously you have the whole space theme. And then there was an interesting um thing here. Let me see. I bookmarked it because someone noticed that if you look at the um all of the images of the posters lined up, if it pops up, that it sort of it looks like there's an explosion in progress. And actually, when you put all the posters together, they do look quite nice. So let's see. See if it shares this tab, and then that way, yeah, I think it was cool. See them all together. Um, and it makes me really wish that Adam Wingard was still on board with this one. Hopefully, he'll get some like story credits because I know that he had a lot of stuff he wanted to do after New Empire, but because of the scheduling stuff, he wasn't able to come back on because he had obligations um to another uh, to another movie he was doing. But I think this is a nice way to keep that um I guess legacy alive or that pattern because I'd say the way the MonsterVerse is going now, like I'm sure it's in the best interest that they go back to solo movies, but like this line of films, I think is pretty cool. Like I like that we're getting like these collaboration films, which is like somewhat the first of its kind. But I think like Toho did something similar to where they always had Godzilla team up with or go against like another monster, and that was like a trend that every era sort of followed. Yeah, let's see. Let's go back to StreamYard. And so as you saw, we have the new Supernova title sequence. And if you guys have any thoughts about that, let me know. What was your reaction to what we saw with the Supernova title reveal? Because as I said, I was super excited when I heard the title because it obviously confirmed all of the theories that space was going to have something to do with this new film, which is super interesting. And most of the reaction I've seen online, which is something else I wanted to point out, was the amount of people talking about Space Godzilla and Gigan possibly coming back because those two are the most talked about in terms of characters they want to see, or at least characters they think are going to come back and are some people want to see them come back. There's a lot of people who are also very against it. So if we go back to the screen here, let's see, close out of that, go back here. Yeah, so like see here, Orga was another one that was talked about coming back. Um, and then Hedorah as well. But Space Godzilla and Gigan are the two most people think are likely to return. And then there's a tweet for the title sequence, some Space Godzilla stuff. And people are already making connections, which people have always made connections to Zozalawa. Um, like people are saying this is Space Godzilla, but I don't think that's the way that was supposed to be set up. Especially if you go into what Wingard has shown us through the movies and some external material. Like this is probably a representation of Godzilla himself. Sort of following up on the whole Mothra infusing herself. Like I would probably take it as if we saw in King of the Monsters to where Mothra's wings appeared whenever he did the nuclear pulse. Then that's probably what the Iwi were depicting through this image. Because I also think that, as I think I've said before, that I think Godzilla has entered the energized state before. And so that's probably how he got the name the Titan who ate a star. Yeah. And from Kaiju shit posting Twitter when you say you actually want to see Space Godzilla and JSK Supernova. Because, yeah, because people are very much talking about it. Let's see here. So, would people really be upset if Space Godzilla is in Supernova? Let's see here. No, same as always. It's not my first choice. Interesting. Let's see. Yeah, so like one thing is like that's always come up whenever you discuss Space Godzilla is how are the G cells gonna get into space? Um, honestly, it could be either way because I think they just have to get to space. My thing, or that I've always thought would be the way to go, would be if you just had either Monarch or some other agency taking Godzilla cells up into space for research. Similar, like, and the way I get that is when we saw on Rampage, like that's how the mutagen uh, got up there and then came back down. I would say if a research crew was in space and then some sort of event happens, space event causes the cells to mutate and then it crashes down to Earth, and then that's how it happens. And or if they take it to like, well, at one guard sort of set up the fact that there's a moon base, because if you see in Bernie, I think both of Bernie's screens in GVK and GXK New Empire, you see that there is like like suspicion that there's a moon base on the on the podcast log. So let's see. See, this is like the quote tweets. That's where most people I think I saw a few quote tweets. Let's see. It's Zim. And then let's see. What my does. I don't want the envy to fumble him. That's why I don't want Gigan, Hadara, or Nito. The envy sucks with them. I would have to disagree with that one because they did Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra pretty well. I think they all, both in design and in terms of how they're handled. D-Man. The arrogance of fans is headcanon total villains into the monsterverse and getting disappointed when they don't appear, and not the other way around. Well, I'd say it's one thing. like people are hyped. Some people are hyped that he could be joining in because of how cool. I think it's pretty cool. Space Godzilla as a concept. Um, and the chance to see a arguably better take than when he happened, because I think there's been other takes in comics and such video games where the setup has been done better. But like, will people be really disappointed? I don't think so. But I'm gonna revel in the people who don't want Space Godzilla. I'm gonna revel in their disappointment if Space Godzilla is in it and they complain. Real threat. Something who kill evil Goji. Same. Yeah, people are also wanting to see Gigan, which I think would be cool as well. I know that the would-be G Team anime that O'Shea Jackson Jr. is wanting to get off the ground had some Gigan concept art, which I thought was pretty cool. And I don't know if the anime gets off the ground, cool. With what we saw with the Kong Skull Island anime, I really like that anime. So, and then we're obviously getting a sequel comic, so it would have to be really well done. Let's see, the idea, nah, cool boy as hell. Let's see, of course, to the fans, special guys, fans, compare everything. But sometimes they do. Oh, Blackaroonie, super upset. Blackaroonie would be upset. Let's see, yeah. Mhm. So yeah, so that's what some people are talking about in the and then we also have some of the crew members joining, and this caused I don't know if it did cause a little bit of an uproar. I saw people saying that they shouldn't be in uproar because let's see, several Pacific Rim Uprising crew members are working on GXK Supernova, including these individuals: Dan Middle, cinematographer; John Schaffer, editor; Stefan Deschamps, production designer; Sarah Finn, casting, and then stuff like this, which people did point out that none of these are writing credits, although I'd say they are also just as important in terms of the how it turns out. I know people were dogging on GSK because oh look, it looks similar to Pacific Rim Uprising. So, and then we also have some concept artists who are on board of the film: Seth Engstrom, Jeremy Love, Nick Saith, and Aiden Romulus was probably and this Kingdom were probably the two biggest names uh, attached to it because people are taking that pretty well. Although it is sad to see that I hope something turns up um, if Jared Kursevsky comes back. I would hope so. I know he told me himself that he does have he did have like stuff planned for the next stage of evolution for Godzilla Evolved. Um, he told me that he was keeping some of that stuff to himself. Um, just for his sake and also not really like a studio mandate thing. Um, but he had some stuff planned, so if he was coming back, I was looking forward to what he was going to serve. But hopefully he comes on after the fact. Hopefully we hear more news. He is going to Monsterpalooza, which if anyone's in the LA area, that's a pretty big convention here. A really fun one too. I'll be going there um, on the Friday night. Maybe I'll go the other days if I have time, but I am definitely going on the Friday night showing. Um, and I'll be seeing Jared there. So well, maybe I'll ask him about it, maybe not. Um, but it'll be good to see him. I've met him on like I think two other occasions, maybe one. I know I met him at that convention the previous years, so it'll be good to see him again. And so yeah, so these people have worked again on Alien Romulus and Planet of the Apes. So yeah, see concept artists. There you go. Maybe we'll read some of those articles, see some of their work. I know people are also hoping Matt Alshop comes back. So let's see here. Ah, hello, Godzilla. Welcome, welcome. If you have any, let me know if you have anything to say regarding the GXK news. Right now, we're just looking through some of the news surrounding all of the Supernova headline. Let's see, should I put some music? Oh, yeah, I'll put some music in the background. Let's see, explode. Peace, peace, Godzilla. Let's see here. Oh, share screen. There you go. So like a Space Godzilla This is from before. I know some people were doing their own fan designs for Space Godzilla. Well, of course, there's the Space Godzilla comic that I picked up from Matt Frank. That was last year, and that was a pretty cool comic. I like all the art and the story being told. That was pretty interesting. So there's some Space Godzilla hype leading up to it. Let's see. Space Boy, this is cool art from Ferran the Privies. That's cool. But part of me hopes there's something more creative with this design if he does come back. But I've seen some cool Space Godzilla Monsterverse designs that I think pull off the look really well. Space Godzilla, like this looks pretty cool. I think this is based off that same sculpture that we saw, or that I'm talking about. But yeah, I think this is a cool look. Like I hope the rest of it is a little more creative, or new with the design. Like it's not just a copy paste Monsterverse with crystals and such, and that there's actual design work into it. It actually kind of looks like Biolante, if you think about the original, or one of the original explanations. And yeah, because there's a lot of Space Godzilla hate going around. There's like a big vocal fandom, or fan set of people that don't like Space Godzilla as a concept and as the character. Let's go to the latest. What are people talking about Space Godzilla lately? Uh, uh, let's see. Space Gojira. Yeah, they haven't talked about G cells specifically, but they have set up the whole bioengineering side of monsters. And then also you have the Ghidorah, which was an alien. So there's obviously the alien aspect to it. So depending on what we see coming up. And let's see, that's what we're calling Supernova. Boom. Oh. New images of the Playmates Monsterverse Wave 4 figures that will be released this fall. Feature Burning Godzilla. Oh. Well, that actually looks cool. That looks cooler than the Energized Godzilla. But that's the leg stance that I don't like. I don't like those legs. But it actually looks pretty cool. And then we have a blue Mothra, which is neat. That's sort of just like the poster version of Mothra. We mostly saw Mothra in King of Monsters as blue, or at least blue accented most of the time. That's interesting. I never got the regular Mothra from GXK, and this is more of a Monsterverse line. Here's the Frost Vark, which everyone's excited for because this was a pretty much a fan favorite monster design. Sourced from Sci-Fi Japan. And then we have Kong. I thought this was already released. Or maybe it's a resculpt because I don't know if it had this kind of sculpting on it. But that looks cool. It looks interesting as well. I wonder if they're using similar molds that they used to have. But I like how it has all the new Kong joints. I could have sworn this was already released. Let me know if this was already released or not. What is this? So peak. It's the top. And then Zentreya, which is a VTuber, was talking about it, I guess. I don't know what that is. Yeah, but people were holding Matt Alsop, which I do like Matt Alsop's work. I think he does a lot of cool art. Like, this is cool. And I think it really was brought onto screen pretty well. He actually looks like Gargantua, one of the Gargantua brothers there. That would be cool seeing them in the Monsterverse. I don't see why he wouldn't come on. I think he's been on for every movie so far. Cool. And then there's the whole Trapper, is the Jaguar concept. And I have the Alien Romulus concept artist. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts about this, whether or not you would rather see Space Godzilla or Gigan and Supernova. And then you have the Call 24-0 Monarch. Concept artist news, so Baby Godzilla. Alright, or Baby something that gets squished by Space Godzilla. Space Godzilla hates kids. That's confirmed. There was also that Godzilla teaser that came out alongside this. Which is actually, I don't know if people are still reporting that it's like a teaser to Godzilla -2. Because it wasn't, it was like a tourism ad for like, I think like Southeast Asia or something. Because they had Godzilla visiting lots of places in that region, I believe. And then as to the design, I thought the design was pretty interesting. I'm not sure I 100% like it because if anyone knows me, knows that I do not like the I don't know what we call it, the Takashi Yamazaki Godzilla design. I think it's pretty weird. I don't like it. There's stuff I like about it, I would say, but then I don't like it as a whole. Like I don't like the ride design. I do not like that one. I like -1 better because I think it's a better design of what the ride is, but I don't like it just because it's the ride design again, but with tweaks. And then there's this one, which is a tweaking of the um -1 Goji. I do kind of like the spikes better, and the tail I think is better here, but overall, I can take it or leave it, I guess. But the whole ad is cool. I like the green atomic breath, which maybe we'll see later. Again, what is speed doing? Let's see, because I can't Supernova plays many things. I know people are saying that this is supposed to resemble Gigan's visor, which maybe, but then again, it is just a supernova star exploding. And then yeah, this was nice. Um, Yoshimi Bano will receive a exclusive producer credit on Godzilla Kong Supernova. Um, he has passed away, as most of us know, but he did help create the MonsterVerse, and he was like one of the main people who set it up when he wanted to do the like I think Godzilla versus Hedorah sequel or the 3D film it was gonna do, and then he resold, or they had a contract to give the rights to Legendary. And I think it's nice that he still receives the producer credit on all of the Godzilla films in the series. Um, since it was weird because I know it started out as like a Godzilla only thing, and then they brought Kong into it. Um, because I don't think he receives any credits in Skull Island. Um, so I think it's only for anything Godzilla related. But apparently he's going to be receiving a credit in Supernova, so that's cool. It's nice to see them honor him like that. So again, let me know if anyone has any. Hello, Godzilla Kiru or Kiru. Good to see ya. We are talking about Godzilla Kong Supernova. If you have any thoughts, hopes, or predictions, let me know. That way we can discuss. And or I did share on the Discord. If you're in the Discord, I did share. What's this? Yeah, I still need to chill on my side. But yeah, let me know if there's any like discussion points you want to talk about, because that is what I've mostly been talking about on the stream. Because in regards, let me know. Yeah, just let me know anything, because I would love to discuss. Because I'm looking forward to what the future of the MonsterVerse holds. And then obviously with the whole supernova aspect, we are probably going to be leaning more into the sci-fi aspect of monsters or kaiju. Because I still need to watch Grant Spator's I Am Mother film. Like I've heard good things, but uh, it's not my like the premise. Not so much for the setting, but the premise. I don't know if I like films to where there's only like one or two main protagonists. Um, like I just don't jive with them personally. I like films with ensemble casts. Excuse me. So hopefully I'll get around to it before the movie comes out at least. But I've heard good things, many good things about um I Am Mother, so I'll definitely probably get around to it. But since it is a high sci-fi heavy film, people are expecting to. I would say it would have a bit of an in-between tone between the Wingard films and King of the Monsters. Because I feel personally that the Wingard films did better at handling the comedy aspects or the levity when it came to those films better than King of the Monsters. Let's see here. I'm excited for the new film and I'm hoping for a good kaiju villain. I'm fine with Gigan or original Space Titan. Yeah, I know as I've been discussing up to this point, Gigan and Space Godzilla are the two most hyped monsters that people are hoping. Some people are hoping, other people are hoping not, because they don't like either of them, either because of who they are, like with Space Godzilla, or because they don't think they fit in the MonsterVerse. I personally think either of them could fit. I would hope they're done well, of course. Um, but yeah, I think you can make a good villain out of any space creature, because I think space is one of the logical routes you had to go with in the MonsterVerse. Because when you take into account that Godzilla evolved, it sort of set up to be the most powerful monster on the surface, at least. And then you have things like Shimo, and then other mysterious threats from the Hollow Earth. But I think since the Hollow Earth had its villains with Skarky and then Shimo by proxy, um, they probably wanted to do something different. Since we haven't really seen outside of Ghidorah like another alien threat, so I think because I think they would have either gone with like a engineered Titan, which was set up in King of the Monsters, or they had to do like an alien kaiju. Like that's my take on it. Because I think you do have to keep it fresh. Like I don't think it would have been like I think it would have been cool, but I don't think it would have been as cool if they went with another Hollow Earth mystery. Alright, let's see. You're in the camp of not wanting Space Godzilla mainly because the origins they have would have to create so they have to create since Biollante isn't around to sprinkle G cells in a black hole. Uh I agree with that to the extent or specifically if you want to keep that origin. Because I don't think they have to be beholden to that origin of Space Godzilla. Because I think they can do any sort of method to bring back Space Godzilla. Because, like, before you came on, I pitched the idea where, like how I would go about it, or one of my ideas is basically Monarch or some other government agency or some private agency takes Godzilla cells into space for experimentation, either because they deem it too dangerous to do on Earth or something or other, and then some sort of space accident happens that mutates the cells. I think that would be an easy way, and I'm sort of ripping that off of Rampage. If you watch Rampage, they basically took the experiments to space, and then it crashed down. And I think that would be a pretty cool way of reinventing the space Godzilla origins. Is essentially all you have to do is take Godzilla cells into space, and you can do that in any number of ways, honestly. But and that's only if you want to like keep the original origin of, or one of the original origins of Biollante carrying them into space. Because I know there was also the whole Mothra explanation. But I think either way, they can just take Godzilla cells into space and have them mutate in some way. Yeah, let me know what you think of that. No. Because again, I think there's a lot of different routes they can go with it. And of course, that's only if they are actually bringing Space Godzilla into it. Because I think, like, the only reason I think they might is because um, of the way Wingard handled it. Because Wingard originally wanted Mothra, but they didn't want to purchase the rights for Mothra, or at least they didn't see it as viable to get the rights for Mothra. And now, but it was after the test screenings that they decided that they should buy the rights to Mothra, because of the reactions. Essentially, everyone wanted Mothra to be put back, or they wanted Mothra because they thought it would be a better fit. So now that they know that the fans are going to take kindly to original or Toho Kaiju coming in, I think Legendary is going to be more willing to shell out the money for the rights to certain creatures. So I think Space Godzilla or Gigan have a pretty good chance of coming back. Let's see if they are. I'm hoping it be the way you said, as that makes sense. I'm glad you think that. Because like I said, I think it would just have to be written in a way to where it makes sense that they would take it into space, or they somehow get into space. And I think that for the film, suspending your disbelief in how they take it into space is pretty reasonable. Because like if they want to do research and they deem it too dangerous to do them on Earth, um, then they could also do something with the whole moon-based theory, which is like a Bernie theory, but the setup is there to where you can have Monarch doing experiments in space, um, or some other agency doing experiments in space. Because I think it makes sense. You can sort of work in like as a tribute to Biolante, to where other government agencies are want to experiment on Godzilla cells that they recover from, um, any given place. Let's see, I'm gonna put it on the showroom. Speaking of Violante, I've been wishing for her to appear since King of Monsters. Would be a good segue to Godzilla's getting tired of humanity's crap. Yeah, yeah, I think it would be cool. I think the G Team anime was also trying to set up Violante, or do Violante, as well as Gigan and Kumanga, since I know there is concept art of that. Um, yeah, I think there's an obvious route to where, oh, excuse me, it'll be easy to set that up. Forgive my dogs, they get crazy, but yeah, I think it's a cool setup. Because obviously you have the setup of bioengineering titans. And then there's the fan, the fanfic community that want Gia to become Biolante, which would be crazy. But yeah. Yeah, I think it would be cool. I think probably since his next film is doing the whole space thing, I think the next film should be that like bioengineered, and they should bring in Biolante. I think that would be the next logical step to do, because I think having like a new kind of threat each film um would be the way to go to keep the hype going. Because there's been the whole notion of, because they're redoing the Godzilla Kong team up film, they're probably gonna get less special, and so they'll probably see some diminishing returns. But I don't think so. I think that, so let me see here. Let's look at box office returns. Let's see, Monster first box office. Let's just search up that and see what we got. So let's see here. I'm gonna go on and share the screen. So let's see here. Present all. Share screen on. Boom. So let's see here. Franchise Monsterverse. So we have Godzilla lifetime gross like 200 million, right? And then Godzilla Kong the Empire. It's the closest one. Let's see, the one that made the least amount of money, which I think makes sense for what it is. Looks to be Godzilla versus Kong. And of course I still think that given how successful it was, even with because I think it would have made as much money as Godzilla Kong the Empire. I think it would have been as successful as this, but given how successful it was already with, even with streaming and COVID, I think it speaks to how, given how popular the Empire was. I think it makes sense that Godzilla Kong would have been like number 3 or number 2. But also, I think New Empire. I don't know if this because I think the reason that because I remember seeing a headline that Godzilla Kong was the highest grossing film. Oh wait, was that domestic or was that worldwide? Lifetime gross? What's changing? Is this domestic or is this worldwide? I think it's probably domestic, or at least in the US, which makes sense. But if we look at worldwide gross, yeah, let's see. Worldwide. World. World. Worldwide? Box office? Yeah, because numbers. Yeah, so that was probably. So worldwide, uh, let's see. Is it diminishing? No, I don't think there's been diminishing returns. Because again, even if you take into account like the COVID and the streaming, Godzilla vs. Kong was very successful. And I think it brought in, I think it would have brought in just as much as New Empire. But if we look at, because I mean, I think it's tracking, or yeah, tracked in way more than Godzilla or Kong Skull Island. So, like, I don't think there's any diminishing returns, worldwide speaking. And then if you take into account, yeah, because it's not like, because I think domestically, Godzilla Kong didn't do any that much less better than Godzilla 2014, and it did better than King of the Monsters, which many perceive to be a letdown. I think all in all, it's a letdown financially, especially if you take into account the budget, the production budget. In terms of domestic, obviously. Hmm. Was I sharing that? I don't know if I was sharing that, but yeah. Godzilla versus 100 gorillas. Who wins? 100 Kongs. Well, obviously, Godzilla x Kong show that Godzilla would win against 100 Kongs. Because Godzilla x Kong has the best world building. Of course, Black Arena, you should know this by now. Oh, hey, let's see. Hello, Sea Monster. Hope you weren't waiting too long.
No, it's all right. I just came on here. Like, I pretty much had just finished a rewatch of Mission Impossible Fallout. To prep for the new one that's coming out. Yeah, Fallout is just absolutely amazing. By the way, so
Yeah, I've heard good things about the Mission Impossible franchise.
yeah, some of them are better than others. Like I will say that much. But Fallout is like it. I'm just amazed like how well that movie just holds up. On just about every level that one could ever ask for from like a quality film.
Mm.
But I got one more movie to
Nice.
kind of like revisit before the new one comes out. So there's that.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of hype for that one, or at least a lot of promotion when it comes to whenever I go to the theater. Trailers are always playing that
Yeah,
long one.
yeah. Like Yeah, I'm excited for that one too. I guess it is mainly like how excited I'd be would just be kind of contingent on how well like the most direct one, which is Dead Reckoning, kind of holds up. I guess so.
Mm.
Because Final Reckoning is technically it was initially titled Dead Reckoning Part Two, but I guess since Dead Reckoning Part One, when it came out back in 2023, like it kind of like underperformed, and it was like that movie like came out the week before like the Barbenheimer thing was released, so like so it didn't really it kind of underperformed a bit then.
Mm.
So it's weird that they just like changed the title for part two to the Final Reckoning, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
Like
had noticed that.
yeah, I mean like even like to where like even like the certain releases of Dead Reckoning Part One, they just took Part One out of the title pretty much, so
Mm-hmm.
that people wouldn't. I guess immediately just like if they're since they're retitled Part Two to the Final Reckoning, people won't be confused to be like, "Yo, where's Part Two at?" Even though like there should be like some process of elimination because like you got Reckoning in the title of this new one, so.
Yeah.
Ah, but anyways, enough about that. So what's where we at as far as this
Well,
discussion? Because I literally just came on.
well, I guess we can like restart the discussion at since I've basically just been talking about what I've been thinking about all of the new stuff that we've been hearing but like what's your take on all of the new stuff? Like what was your reaction to the title reveal?
For Godzilla Kong Supernova, the title. Um, I would say I'm intrigued by it. Like I definitely know that I've been hearing people say like the speculation of like oh that means Space Godzilla is coming up because supernovas are in space and all that. I mean like which fair and there's like a bit of a space like I guess there really is like some bit of space looking background there in that little subtitle for Supernova, but I'm not in the teaser. But but honestly, that could just mean it could honestly mean anything at this point. Like it could
Mm-hmm.
involve aliens, or it could just involve or Space Godzilla, or it could just be something else entirely, and maybe like the particle stuff in the background of Supernova that isn't really doesn't really mean anything. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just a matter of hey.
Yeah,
I
and Black
lied.
Rainy has joined us.
Yeah. When I said that I wasn't gonna make it, I lied
Hmm.
straight through my teeth.
Well,
Nice.
either way, happy to have you on.
Yeah, happy to be here. Uh, so GXK3, I was gonna make an unscripted video of my own, but I've been so busy. I'm gonna be busy all week, so I don't know if I'm gonna have like a day off or something. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to just say my piece here because
Of course.
I have concerns for this movie, as you all already know. If you're familiar with my stuff, with my and I'm speaking directly to the audience. Like, if you're familiar with my stuff, my videos, you know that I'm probably one of the biggest critics of the MonsterVerse right now. Besides Zim, Zim is the number one in that realm. And then there's Sea Monster, and then there's Sea Animus, and then there's what's his name? Sea Monster. You had him in over in your stream. Hannes,
um.
brutally Hannes.
Oh, Broody
Yeah,
Honest. Yeah,
yeah.
him.
Some of the top MonsterVerse critics, they do not get enough love. Um, but yeah, no, I'm slowly climbing up the ranks. I'm I'm coming after you, Vic. I'm almost there. Gonna surpass your sub count. I already beat Sea Monster. I'm
Let me just
coming
say,
for
like,
you.
as long as my sub count gets to 300, then that means I'll be able to do that GXK little platoon stream.
Yeah. So
Like a good challenge. I love to help out small YouTubers, you know.
Yeah,
oh
we gotta stick together, you know.
yeah, we gotta the grifter brood. We gotta stick together.
The grifter
Um
What would
brood.
you say for you, Black Rainy? What would you say are like some of your main concerns based on like what you've seen so far?
the writing.
The writing.
Yeah. I don't I don't know what else you expected me to say. I mean,
Have
that's like
Yeah.
they?
my whole.
Because
But
I showed before they've revealed some of the crew, like production crew, but none of them were the writing crew yet. I don't believe so. Or do we know who the writer is?
I
something
think
about
one of
Shang
the
Chi. Yeah,
yeah,
Shang
yeah,
Chi.
Dave Callahan, I
Oh,
think,
I
is
remember.
one of the writers.
Yeah, that's not very promising. To be
Hmm.
honest, Shang Chi was not a very good movie. I found it enjoyable because of the fight scenes. I liked some of the fight scenes. I thought they were very well choreographed. I think Simu Liu cast was an okay casting for Shang Chi. I would have wished this movie was directed by someone like Jackie Chan, and because you know, have the movie take place like just not acknowledging anything else in the Marvel universe so that it can have its own space to be its own unique thing. Because I grew up watching martial arts movies, a lot of Jackie Chan movies, so that's what I expected from Shang-Chi. I didn't get that. I wasn't bored, but I wouldn't say it's a good movie either.
Yeah.
um
Yeah,
then
like
across the
Shang-Chi, I would say it kind of like suffered from like just from essentially like kind of like it seemed like it just like packed in like way more than it really needed to. Like I think if it was just more focused on the stuff between like if it didn't involve the fantasy, shit and like
and
then
just
I'm
focus
going
on the
to
martial arts.
if it
Yeah.
was just focused on the martial arts and Shang-Chi like dealing with having like his father wanting him, and so and the conflict that's going on between them and make it like a smaller scale film, it could have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that his father was the Mandarin. I really don't like that. That was a very poor choice, especially considering the kind of history the Mandarin has with Iron Man. But now that he's dead, you cannot reasonably include him in the MCU anymore without, because I value comic accuracy, so I don't want them to ruin, because now the Mandarin, due to brand synergies, will forever be associated with Shang Chi, and that's just not. I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, at least the MCU version, I guess.
No, not
Well,
even that. It's because like the comics reflect that because of brand synergy. And
hmm.
that's just a byproduct
So you
of the
think like the
MCU
comic
being the
character is
powerhouse.
gonna change because of the film?
Yeah, exactly. It's happened as far back as the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I mean, there were some comics where they drew Peter Parker to look like Andrew Garfield when the Punisher. Well, actually, no. Daredevil season 2, they were starting to draw Punisher more like John Bernthal. When Homecoming came out, they started releasing more Tom Holland Spider-Man esque looking titles for Spider-Man in
Hmm.
particular. Avenger suits changed to mirror the MCU. A lot of stuff, brand synergy. And now with Thunderbolts, Sentry will now forever be associated as this golden retriever boyfriend type character instead of, the man who ripped Ares in half. And yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I can understand. I can understand pretty much. I mean, as somebody who like here's the thing. Even if I did kind of like read the comics, I would just be like, okay, I mean, let's see what the film is going to do with it, and if it works in the with the story that the film is trying to go for, like if it's well executed enough within the narrative that the film is going for, as opposed to adaptation, then then there it is. If not, then it's then there's that as well. I mean, I guess like I was kind of like thinking about this, as far as like that particular like discussion. Like, so what? Like another, like I'd say like one example essentially that I could sort of counter about that is like, well, what about? What are your thoughts about like I don't know, like Michael Keaton's Vulture as an example, who's kind of been considered to be one of the better villains in the MCU. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not that accurate to the comics version of Vulture, at least like the ones that are generally popular enough. But what do you think of that?
I think he's one of the few exceptions out there because even with like the Insomniac titles and other Spider-Man titles, Vulture has remained somewhat intact. However, I haven't seen a whole lot of him beyond the Insomniac games or just Homecoming, so I couldn't tell you precisely. But from what I have seen, the little that I have seen, he's been adapted exactly the same way as he hasn't in previous comics. In the later titles, from what I've seen, with the MCU, I mean, the MCU's version of Vulture is very well written, although not accurate. But I think, me personally, if the story is well written enough, then you can get away with not being
Yeah, that's
one
kind
hundred
of what I
percent
was
comic
kind of
accurate. I
going
mean,
at. That's what I was
just
like.
look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, they are not at all like their comic book counterparts, and they're excellently written. So,
Yeah, I mean,
um,
like that's kind of what I was going at there. Like,
the
like as
thing
far
is
as
that they can get away with it because they're like C listers, D listers. So, and because they're relatively obscure, they can get away with it. I don't know about A listers though.
I can see how that kind of makes sense. And then I guess that leads back into like, so you're not confident based on like the way they handled certain characters and Shang-Chi. You don't, do you doubt the writing quality of the upcoming film?
Oh, I don't just doubt it. I'm diagnosing it before. I'm not even diagnosing it. I'm predicting it. I am a prophet. You know, I was right. You know, when the whole Godzilla brand tried to do the Barbenheimer thing with -1 and GXK, I predicted that it was not never going to take off, and I was exactly right. Nobody talked about it ever since. And I knew that GXK was not going to be good, and lo and behold, I was right. It turned out to be not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it was still just as bad as GVK. Another thing, I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now. So what's his name? David Callahan, the writer. He worked he wrote a movie called Horseman, which was later produced by Michael Bay. He wrote the film adaptation of Doom. Yeah, Doom.
Oh,
yeah, the one with
The Rock.
Dwayne.
Simplify, motherfucker.
He wrote for the Expendables. I don't remember that one being a good movie. Enjoyable, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, The Expendables is not high tier cinema. Let's just
yeah,
say,
it's kind of
but
like
it
Fast
is.
and Furious. It's in the
It's
same little ballpark as Fast and Furious.
the first two Expendable movies. I would say were pretty fun, but like the third one, I don't really remember much of that one at all. And the
it
fourth
kinda,
one's pretty bad.
yeah, the later titles just feel like the franchise is overstaying its welcome.
Yeah.
He co-wrote actually no, he completed a production rewrite for Ant-Man. I remember because Edgar Wright was involved with the production of Ant-Man and the writing of Ant-Man, and a lot of his concepts kind of managed to seep into the film, but not entirely. So it kind of feels like a butchered version of Edgar Wright's vision, but it's still not a bad movie. It's actually one of the better movies in the MCU. He co-wrote Zombieland and Zombieland Double Tap. He
Yeah.
wrote America the Motion Picture for Netflix. I remember that movie being hilarious. I don't know if it's well written, but because it's a comedy, I guess you could possibly, get away with it. At least that's
I
what
mean, I really like the Zombieland movies. Actually, I mean, the first one's better, but
Yeah,
I
I'd agree with that.
I haven't seen them, so I couldn't tell you. Universal hired him to write The Wolfman for their Dark Universe. The one with Dracula Untold and the Mummy.
yeah. Well, that one fell through. So
yeah. September 2017, Patty Jenkins hired Callahan to write the script for Wonder Woman 1984 with her and Jeff Johns. That's not very promising. That's not very promising. He was hired to write the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse. That one was good. He wrote Shang-Chi. That was not good. Live action remake of Hercules.
that who knows if that one's gonna happen essentially, or at least anytime, or at least like happen soon enough to where Callahan would still be present. Because considering how Snow White did.
Yeah, it's better if they don't. What
Yeah,
else? 2022. He wrote the latest drafts of the screenplay of the Masters of the Universe reboot for Netflix. That's not very promising.
I've heard terrible things about that.
Yep. And that is about it for.
Did he have like some weird credit in being involved with Godzilla 2014 in some degree?
He did pitch. He wrote the first draft, he did receive story credit, but he just wrote the first draft.
Okay.
And he did the he co-wrote the Mortal Kombat movie, the 2021 movie.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, Co-wrote it with Greg Russo, credited as David Callahan. So from what? Oh, he also co-wrote with Phil Lord and Christopher Miller with Across the Spider-Verse, which I'm gonna be drop a massive hot take. Across the Spider-Verse is not as good as Into the Spider-Verse.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah,
And
Into
I
Spider Verse is
also
significantly better.
I also despise how Miguel O'Hara is characterized because it's not at all how he's normally characterized. I mean, if you've played Spider-Man: Edge of Time, that's like the perfect adaptation of Spider-Man 2099 because he's a lot more ruthless. He's a lot more violent, and from what I know, he doesn't have a no-kill rule. He will avoid killing, but he will kill if he seems it is like absolutely necessary. He has no
Hmm.
problems with that, but he's not merciless. He's not what they tried to do with Miguel. And so now because people only know Miguel O'Hara from Spider-Verse and only hardcore fans know him from Edge of Time in the comics, he's forever going to be associated with the Across the Spider-Verse version, which by the way, I hate his suit. I hate how complicated it looks. It looks so weird. Imagine trying to draw that. Like his suit is simple. It's inspired by the Cinco de Mayo celebration, because his mother's Mexican and his father's Irish.
Yeah.
Um, they seem to only focus on the Mexican part, but that's besides the point. Uh, and they just combined the black suit, which yes, the suit is supposed to be black. It's just that because of the printing, they had to add blue highlights to it, and people thought it looked blue, and then the change stuck. But that is technically still considered the black suit. Even in Spider-Man PS4, it's still called the black suit. And a combination between that and the white suit, which looks a lot more like the Spider-Verse version. I don't know
Hmm.
why they made that amalgamation. That didn't need to happen. What we could have had was for Beyond the Spider-Verse, because the black suit is damaged, he could have worn the white suit instead. And that could have been like an armor because the suit is just more than just a skin tight costume, it's an armor. So but yeah, no, that's besides the point. I'm getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so David
Yeah.
Callahan, I have many things to say about her in regards to like the adaptation of Spider-Man 2099. Like I've loved him since I was a kid. I love him. I think he's a better successor to Spider-Man than Miles Morales himself. There, I said it.
Mhm.
Miles Morales, redundant character. Miguel O'Hara, unique in his own way, unique villains, unique storyline, unique character dynamics. He's a much better successor. He's like Terry McGinnis of Spider-Man characters. But that's besides the point. David Callahan, he is very hit or miss with more misses than hits.
Yeah.
And considering, but this isn't even like David Callahan's like even if he was like Shakespeare himself, like Shakespeare reincarnate, the MonsterVerse right now has so many plot holes and inconsistencies and just broken world building that, as I said in my unscripted video, they don't just compound on each other, they cube. So all of that
Mm,
fallout falls upon this new movie, GXK Supernova. And so Grant Spatore and David Callahan are going to have to like struggle between writing a story and also fixing all the other previous problems. And if they focus too much on fixing the problems, then it'll be less of a movie and more of an apology. And at that point, you don't have a story. If they focus exclusively on the story, then two things could happen. Number one, they treat the past as just non canonical, they just ignore the problems and they just build upon their own foundation. So essentially, a soft reboot, which I mean, I would have preferred a hard reboot, but that's good enough for me, at least, because it's better than GVK and GXK and even King of the Monsters. I'll tell you that much. Or
Hmm.
they re-implement those same problems and somehow manage to make them worse. And given the little, and this might seem like a little insignificant thing, but y'all saw that part of the clip where we saw that Godzilla bobblehead. I talked about it in Zim's server, but
mhm.
having a Godzilla bobblehead in a universe where Godzilla is known to flatten cities if he fights in them, that would be like the Infinity Cones thing from Thor Love and Thunder, and that would be like having a spaghetti restaurant themed after Adolf Drippler. So, yeah. I would not do
Considering
that.
that there was like Playmates figures of like Godzilla and Kong, in GXK, like I think the bobblehead thing. I mean, it's still kind of weird, like obviously the whole having those figures in GXK doesn't necessarily like negate whatever the issue that the bobblehead could raise that those figures weren't in GXK, but yeah, that is kind of like I kind of I kind of think it's like, oh, there's like a bobblehead. I mean, if there's like merch for Godzilla and Kong in this universe since as GXK established, then I mean,
But why
it's
would
just
there be? Is what I want to know. Like again, not a plot hole, but I think it's indicative to what the attitude is towards the writing and
yeah. I
Well,
mean,
what little
for one
details.
thing, I don't think it's as bad as the Infinity Cone thing because the thing is, like, Godzilla isn't seen as inherently a true villain in the MonsterVerse.
no, I mean,
Oh no,
yeah,
no,
Like, I
no,
know
no!
there's
I'm not
there
saying
there's
he's
is
the
a
Godzilla
villain.
detractors,
I'm not
but like
saying he's a villain.
Thanos
I'm
was
just
the
saying
villain.
I know, but like I'm not saying Godzilla's a villain necessarily. What I'm saying is he is a walking natural disaster, or at least that's how most people view him. If we're going to be consistent from King of the Monsters, and so why would you have? Okay, so the best example I can come up with off the top of my head is Pacific Rim, right? With Pacific Rim, over time, as the Jaeger started winning more and more battles, then we got merchandise of the kaiju. Great, but that's because they're no longer seen as a threat anymore. They're seen as just uh enemies that are disposable because the Jaegers are so powerful and so great. It's a similar method that's used in Helldivers where they propagandize their dead, like they use their dead for propaganda. Also, by the way, there's a new Helldivers event. If you play Helldivers, then I would watch out for that because there's a new community event. But anyway, you've seen the opening scene of the Helldivers 2 game, like freedom, prosperity, democracy, all. Y'all remember Malevolent Creek, where there were all these videos and ads and uh posters like "I want you" for Malevolent Creek, basically capitalizing off of like the hundreds of thousands of divers that were dying every single day trying to retake the planet. That's basically a similar principle, just on a larger scale because it's an interplanetary conflict in Helldivers. But that's but with God, it makes sense for those franchises to do it, because on top of the fact that those are very unserious franchises, like they're not 100% serious, um, and they don't. I mean, they take their events seriously to a degree, but not so much where you can't, enjoy yourself. With the MonsterVerse, these are disasters. Like people are dying in the millions. The world after King of the Monsters is destroyed. So like I don't see why there would be. And
yeah,
on top of the fact, like even with the declassified Mothra, not Mothra, Monarch files, even if they're declassified, Kong is a relatively new Titan to the public because those files were declassified um in King of the Monsters, and I would assume that would include files about Kong. So he's a relatively new addition. So the fact that there's merchandise of Kong already, I mean, they work fast. That's all I'm gonna say is like, dude, these people surely like they work pretty fast. But again,
Mm.
not a plot issue, but it's in very poor taste because in real life, unless there was some evident reverence for the events that happen, of like the Titanic, for example, then you wouldn't do that unless you were purposely trying to be provocative, and that's not what they're trying to do here. They're trying to, have it be an Easter egg as opposed to,
yeah,
someone trying to be provocative. I mean, it kind of the fact that it's a monarch person that's doing it, that has that figure, kind of softens the blow a little bit because due to the nature of monarch and their studies, I suppose they would have some sort of souvenir to the things that they're studying.
yeah.
But the fact that it exists at all, and even you remember the Ghidorah Stand 69 from GXK.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
First of all, how the hell does the public know about Ghidorah's name? Is what I want to know. That's the first thing, because I don't think he was formally named. I don't think he was formally named in King of the Monsters until that one point, like the second half of the movie. So
Yeah, I
I
didn't
thought
even
that
realize that. I didn't even realize that because even Bernie, who is like somebody who's like obsessed with Titan stuff, like if it was declassified that Monster Zero is like now known is like
that
known
would
as
be
like
his name.
Titanus
Yeah,
Ghidorah, like I
it
mean,
would be named like Monster Zero. That would be the official name, man.
yeah, it would be Monster Zero. But I
But
mean, if
so
they were
like,
to update it to Ghidorah, I mean, like
And
after the
and even
fact,
even then, why are there Ghidorah? It's one thing to say Thanos did nothing wrong, which is wrong. Not Thanos did plenty wrong. But but that's beside. But that's not the point. Uh, it's one thing to say Thanos did nothing wrong. Like his motives were understandable. If you were a civilian in that universe, all you would know is that Ghidorah tried to destroy the world. You wouldn't even know why. So I don't know how you could reasonably stand Ghidorah. Like I don't know how you could unless you're some sort of uh misanthrope. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
unless you're being like an edgy troll, essentially.
yeah.
That's probably what they were going for with
kind of
that.
like kind of like how Kanye West did that Hail Drippler song that got banned.
Mm,
Yeah, something like that, kind of. Um,
If that's the case, then fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah.
But I still think it speaks to the attitude they have towards the writing, which is why whatever hope I had for the movie, which was already pretty, little, like not a whole lot of hope,
mm.
then
Well, let's see. Let me ask this of you. Could you like talk about like one or two of the plot holes that you think are something that the film is gonna have to address, or that you think the film makers are gonna struggle to address?
uh for one, there's the massive gaping hole in the middle of Hong Kong. For two, there's the fact that there's the entirety of the events of Brazil, which are only happened because of a series of plot holes after plot holes, which we've covered in depth in previous streams. Go watch Zimzilla streams if you haven't already,
Yeah,
or Sea Monster streams as well, uh, or my own streams. I've talked about it at length and nauseum in my own black screen
yeah.
streams.
Yeah,
But
I mean, even with Monarch with this little teaser, suggesting that there is a Monarch hotline that is like a thing in this universe, I mean, like we could just assume that this hotline was there before, Supernova, because I mean,
I
it
mean,
would
yeah,
have to like
yeah.
it makes too much sense for it to not have been established pre Supernova, but like even that doesn't really like answer like the question of like is that okay, are they actually gonna like address like what the fuck happened in Rio, like a city that was never evacuated but suddenly like four titans like just popped up in the middle of the ocean and like just like I mean, yes, Godzilla and Kong, they were fighting Scar King, who was evil, and Shimo, who was under Scar King's control. Like she wouldn't really intend to hurt anybody if she wasn't under control.
I mean,
But
she would have
still,
anyways. Like, even if she wasn't under control, she would have, given just her massive size. Like, if she arrived at a city just to like explore, that would still be
well, I mean,
catastrophic.
I'm saying she wouldn't intend to hurt anybody. Like if she was just exploring, like
Sure, but
but
civilians are not going to look at intent. They're going to look at their families being crushed.
no, yeah, no, I get you, but yeah, I mean, the point is this whole event in Rio, like not even just Rio, like everything that happened with that Godzilla was doing in GXK, like they had to address like whether or not Monarch was like horrifically incompetent during the events of that
Like,
movie.
as
Like
far back
it's
as King of the Monsters, I would say. Like, that's where it all started.
hmm.
I think, yeah, that's like the
Maybe
beginning of
so.
the end.
But again, I think well, for one thing, in the teaser, on screen it shows that Rio has been rebuilt.
How?
And, and how long is what I want to know. How long did it take to rebuild it?
Well, we'll have to wait until we know the timeline. I don't know if they revealed the timeline, because I know GXK takes place in what, 2027?
2028, 2027, 2028, somewhere around there. I think 2027,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess it just depends
I
on how long Supernova takes place after. But on the
Yeah.
screen, you can see there's like a multi-million-dollar rebuilding that I think just got completed. In the headline, it
the,
says.
the, the
How?
thing is the thing is okay, where did they get the money though? because like at the point in which GVK takes place, I'm pretty sure that the entirety of the world would be in a global recession, if not a Great Depression, because of the events of King of the Monsters. God,
Yeah, but
Ghidorah
GBK's all
literally
like, shh, quiet. GBK's all like, shh, don't think about it. Don't think about it.
like, how would they even find? Okay, I think first of all, I think a better invested in I think a better investment of money would be in both rebuilding a kaiju deterrent like Mechagodzilla, or to create bunkers or isolated sections of humanity where the remaining humans can survive. Like the movie can say, "Oh, not that many people died." You see in the beginning of GVK where the movie literally says, "Oh, 8 people died in Godzilla's attack." I call bullshit. That would not happen given what we know Godzilla's capable of doing, given the fact that he leaves behind radiation. So because he leaves behind radiation by virtue of being a radioactive titan, on top of the fact that his atomic breath is radioactive, um, because of course it is. Like that's just like I don't really feel like I need to explain it. It's just common sense.
Yeah, I
But
mean, and
anyway,
not just radioactive, but we're talking like in the case of GXK, like Godzilla in Rio was evolved, so it's not just like the usual radiation
yeah.
levels. Like he's supposed to be like
Super
even
radiation.
crazier.
And he's supercharged, and he's still supercharged after the events of King of the Monsters in GVK. So he can spam his atomic breath more than he ever could have before, which would lead to higher density, not higher density, but larger exclusion zones than if he were to just use his atomic breath sparingly like he did in 2014. So, yeah, there's no way only 8 people died in on top of the fact that all the aircraft that just fell from the sky, and also the soldiers. Like, are you telling me that, oh, what, there's 8 aircraft, 8 jet planes around, and only those 8 died and nobody else died from that attack? Are you kidding me? That's like,
In
that's the
Well,
movie
there was
lampshit.
a
That's the
comic
movie
about
lying.
that.
wait,
That's
8
the movie
jets.
lying.
Where was
I'm
the
just,
8 fighter jets in?
oh, no, I'm not saying that they were exactly it. I'm just, pulling a number out of my ass.
Like which film were you referencing as far as that?
GVK. GVK.
GVK? Oh, 8
Yeah, because
fighter jet. Are you talking about like the Tasman Sea?
no, I'm talking about
No,
the
but
opening scene
the
when
Apex.
Apex. I don't think they
Yeah.
were exactly
Or
8, but that's just like me just pulling a number out of my ass. But
Yeah, I don't think there were 3 fighter jets. I think it was like a squad of like 3 or 4, which it's
yeah,
there's a
kind of
comic that
weird.
explains it. There's a comic about the fire jets specifically. I haven't read it, but I know there is it, and it sort of goes into like
even
I know
then,
we see if like 1 or 2 get downed, and then we have
yeah,
the 2 Apex agents that were with Bernie that got obliterated.
yeah. But even then,
But
like
even then,
I,
like
I
they did
shouldn't have to read the
evacuate.
comic. I shouldn't have to read the comic to have that explained.
Well, I mean,
Well, I mean,
there's like the news report that said like 8 dead, dozens injured. So there could be people who may have died from injuries
because we do
afterwards.
see a
Not
few
even
people that get
injuries,
hit
just
by.
radioactivity in general, like just
I mean, sure,
radiation
but
poisoning.
that takes technically that still does take time to a certain extent.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But the jets that fell on people, like there was this one particular plane that fell in the area where the people were
Right in
running
front
away
of them.
from. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that,
But
yeah. I think I pointed that out in one stream or another, where it's just like that it crashed and exploded right in front of these people. How did no one die from that? That was it. Like, even the first time seeing that, I was just like, okay, that's a bit much.
that's more than 8 people. Like that's not including like the shrapnel that's gonna be flying around, the
Yeah,
shockwaves.
not even shrapnel, the explosion, like the shockwave of the explosion, like those people would be dead, but no, but they all were fine. You're like, they
Only,
look great, fine. I don't know, like,
only
I don't know what that's supposed to tell me. Like, if you're telling me like, oh, people can just die from these like Titan attacks and all that, but you show me something like that, it's like, huh?
I want to know how. I don't. I want to know why people still bother going on vacation, knowing that. Oh, I just remembered something. Right, 2014, when he rose from the ocean, he caused a tsunami, and he did the exact same thing in Florida. Why wasn't there a tsunami? He was swimming at a much faster speed than he was in 2014 because he was angry. So that would naturally create a bigger wave.
Yeah, I mean, like when he like jumped, when you like nose jumped, dived head first in Gibraltar. I mean, just a little side note, sidetrack a bit, but it's funny. Like, there's like like in my upcoming JXK video, just to let people know, I didn't exactly know for certain like whether how Gibraltar was pronounced. So in that video, it's like I'm pronouncing it as Gibraltar, but I left a note on there saying like, yes, I mispronounced it. But
Just in
yeah, like
case.
he dives
Actually, no,
head
just
first
double
and
down. I would double down and say, no, this is the correct pronunciation because I just said so. And you're going to get told that for the rest of eternity.
yeah, fair enough. But yeah, like he dives head first in Gibraltar. You know, when he's like when he hears Kong call for him from Egypt. And that creates like a big ass wave there because you know he makes a big splash essentially. Like that
Yeah,
tsunami,
so
that
like
thing
with
could
the
probably be
giant
like
wave.
an equivalent to what happened in Honolulu.
Yeah, like with the giant wave would have killed enough people to, be on the news and be on a shirt and, that's
And
more than 8 people.
I'm pretty sure Gibraltar was not evacuated. You know, like I mean, given the track record up to that point of how Monarch was handling evacuation procedures in GXK, you know, when you take a look at Cadiz or Rome, it's I, I don't even.
Yeah. Yeah, like all that stuff is going to be. I don't think I want to believe that it will be addressed in some point, but given the what GXK counted as just addressing for the fact that there were lives lost, I don't have a lot of hope. I mean, you remember the scene where Eileen Andrews goes, "Oh, don't laugh. These men had families."
Oh yeah, that. Yep.
And then Mikhail, no reaction whatsoever.
Mikhail had no
Well,
reaction.
I mean,
No, no, no. I mean,
well,
like, Eileen had no reaction, not Bernie. Bernie had a lot of reactions.
no,
But
her reaction was making sure Gia was all right, and then contacting or making an SOS call to the base. That's how she reacted.
Yeah. I mean, like the whole thing with Rio, like the Titans, like you know, Godzilla, Kong, Scar King, and Shimo, like suddenly pop up, and the city not being fully evacuated. Like, sure, you can't really. I mean, I guess I wouldn't necessarily fault it on Monarch because there was pretty much no way for because like you know, communications was kind of down when Eileen and Co were like exploring the Iwi place. Like they wouldn't be able to easily reach out to Monarch about that, but you know, I mean, it that ultimately like that won't be so much of an issue so long as like this film addresses this in some way, shape, or form. It's like you better like unless you mention that like thousands of people, you know, tens of thousands even like died during a fight battle in Rio, and there's like an actual like addressing of that in Supernova, then unless there's that, then we're gonna have problems.
Yeah, and this is without considering the fact that we might be going to space, assuming we go to space. And to your point of like, if you want to be like uber pedantic about the concept of reactions, then what what Eileen did technically counts as a reaction, but I mean like an emotional reaction to the fact that a colleague was devoured right in front of her, and the fact that her daughter had to see that. And then later said, "Oh, these men had families," and then Mikhail is never mentioned again after that point. I think that's lampshading. I don't think it's necessarily bad writing, but as much as it is lampshading, which
Like
is like
I mean, like if even if Mikhail was a dick, it's like I'm pretty like he probably had a family.
on top of the fact that he was right. He's like the only logical character, and he gets punished for it.
Yeah, he's like so like yeah. It's like look, I'm not picking up on my thing. Let's just keep moving. It's like he's going off with like whatever information that he can rely on, you know, and it's like there's only like so much you can really just go off on. They'd just be like, yeah, it's probably better that we just move away from where the smell of rotting flesh is, as opposed to standing around in arguing. I mean, like you could say like, okay, maybe both him and Trapper were pretty much being stupid, but I mean, yeah, I think Trapper was definitely like was the one who definitely started with the whole thing. Yeah, no, I don't think this is right. We shouldn't, let's not go that way. It's like what?
Bernie grew at least two, count them, two neurons in GXK, and then they were completely snuffed out by Trapper. Trapper just killed those two neurons that Bernie grew over the course of these movies, and I will always hate him for that. I hope he dies in the next movie.
Well, he won't be in the next movie, so.
No, Trapper. I mean,
oh, Trapper. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, back on the topic of them going to space. Given that Space Godzilla is rumored to be the main villain, if they end up going to space, I might just walk out of the theater. Like if I go to the theater to watch this, I will just walk out and ask for a refund. I want my money back.
Would you say you would hate it depending on how it's executed? Or
I would
just the
hate it
concept
regardless.
of space?
I would just hate it regardless, but like if they went to space or not went to space, if it ends up being badly written. But I think the reason why I would hate it if they go to space is because so far they have shown time and time again that they cannot handle as complex a concept as the value of human life. So how much more will they fumble as something as fantastical as going to space, giant monsters going to space? I don't have any faith. I just don't have any faith. I mean, the hollow earth, a huge like the entire mantle is completely just expunged from the planet. I was thinking about solutions to this, like, okay, well, maybe there could have been like caverns deep in the in the crust of the earth, but then I realized the world would be uninhabitable if the crust was hollow, like completely, on top of the fact that the hollow crust of the planet, even if it was hollowed out, it still wouldn't be big enough to sustain all the titans, especially that one titan, the bones of that one titan that Suko and Kong had to cross to reach Scar King, that massive ass titan. How big was that thing? Like 5 miles long? Like imagine if that thing just stood on its hind legs. Like,
I mean, that's assuming it was even like, that's assuming whether or not it was supposed to be like a serpentine titan, or if if it did have legs and the legs just weren't. I mean, like I can't really say. I don't think we've seen
You can
legs
kind
in
of
that
see
shot.
the remnants of like the limbs, because it's the skull and the spine, and then on either side of the canyon you can see like there's these mounds of like they look like the same thing as bone.
I probably have to take a closer
yeah,
look.
kind of like a pelvis, Yeah, I think it was quadrupedal, kind of like Shimo, which I mean, I guess could justify it being as big as it is, but even still, that's still way too big for the crust of the planet.
Yeah,
I somewhat agree.
That's way too big for the crust of the planet, and then the more I thought about it, the more I realized, shit, the hollow earth is just. There's no way to make it make sense. Like even this is someone who genuinely believes the hollow earth is real, because there are people that actually believe it's real, but there's just no way to make it sense.
But like, I would say that's more so just a suspension of disbelief kind of thing, because like you can say that about any sci-fi concept.
I mean, suspension of disbelief can be one thing, but suspension of disbelief can be broken.
And it has to be earned as well. Like, on top of the fact that like my suspension of disbelief has been broken time and time again by the MonsterVerse. I mean, I don't think it earned it. With them personally, I don't think it earned it. On top of the fact that there are more realistic ways to depict the Hollow Earth. Like if you truly wanted to have the Hollow Earth be a thing, fine. Matt Alsop has a way to make it seem more realistic. Journey of the Center of the Earth also had another way to make it seem more realistic. I proposed volcanic illumination and bioluminescence to make it, make it dark enough so that it looks interesting, but not too dark where you can't see anything. So just to have a balance of light and dark.
Matt Alsop's was, or at least the concept art and the way other people described it, I always thought that was kind of a boring way to depict Hollow Earth. Personally,
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you can. There is like a way to like like at least find some balancing of like a balance between like there probably was like a like middle ground between like what they decided to do with it and what the concept art was doing it like you can
Yeah,
have
as
it
a
being like
writer, but even then, like as a writer, if you're a writer, then like that wouldn't be that if you absolutely want to do the Hollow Earth and there's no other logical way to do it, you have two choices: either to sacrifice what you want for what the story would need, or just not have it at all. Because I mean, it is possible to have it be fun and make sense, but if there's no way to have both, then you will have to make that choice naturally. Because like even because personally, I don't find it boring. On the contrary, I find it to be super cool, and especially the Matt Alsop design for what's his face, the
Doug,
Blub Shido character.
Doug.
Doug, yeah, he looks so much more interesting and a lot more lean. He kind of reminded me like of like, he could have been like the Monster versus version of Gears with a couple of tweaks, but no, he looked like Gears without any of the spikes and the armor. I thought that was a really badass looking, and you could create like some really interesting visuals with both a bioluminescence to have like the kind of visuals that you would want in a way that makes sense, and also just volcanic activity to have like these really foreboding and um really epic looking shots and images, and while also maintaining the sense of scale. Like that would be awesome. Like that
yeah.
version of the Hollow Earth, it looks more realistic, even if conceptually the Hollow Earth, like because if it when it comes to like suspension of disbelief, like if you as in in a universe that is originally started as something that respected verisimilitude to the best of its ability. I mean, say what you will about 2014, but it absolutely did try
Oh
its
yeah.
hardest to maintain verisimilitude.
Yeah.
You would expect naturally to for that to bleed on over to the next movies, right? So, fantastical concept like giant monsters. Oh well, they're going to be made realistic, and I mean, if anybody finds that boring, then what they're telling me is that real life is boring, and I don't think they believe that. So that would be lying to themselves. And then concepts like giant monsters being made realistic, there's a way to make them look cool, and also just a fantastical location like that. Like if you absolutely must have it, then either make it look realistic, or especially, I mean, assuming that this is how the universe started, or just don't do it at all. That's what I would do. In my concepts for different monsterverse, alternate monsterverse storylines that I, I'm I'm usually conceptualizing in my head. I don't have time to like actually write it, but when I conceptualize it in my head, I'm always imagining, okay, the Hollow Earth is not even a thing. It doesn't exist. The Hollow Earth just not a thing. And I would also limit the amount of Titans that there are, and also I would create events that erase Titans from the face of the Earth in a coherent way, and have conflicts that are just not this happens and then this happens and then this happens. Uh, I would have the conflicts be this happens, but this happens, and therefore this happens, and then
Yeah.
this happens. But the Trey Parker, Matt Stone approach
Oh
to
yeah.
writing.
Yeah,
I,
definitely
re-
that.
I remember what's his face, Despot of Antrim described the Monsterverse movies as non sequitur plots, which like the B does not justify A in any way, and X does not justify Y, and therefore does not justify Z in any way. And I think that's possibly the best way I've seen someone describe on a MonsterVerse film. So, given all these factors, um, Grant Spatore, as talented as he might be with I Am Mother, he's going to have to carry that burden. If he ends up trying to, I think the movie will be bad regardless, but if it's demonstrable that effort is shown into what he's trying to do, and actually tries to do like compensate by writing an excellent character arc, then I find the Monsterverse at that point to be like, sorry, a lot more salvageable than what it was when GXK came out. um if not, then reboot time. That's what I'm saying. That's what I say. Like reboot time. If
It's
not, then because it would take like an entire trilogy to fix all the problems in an entire season of television.
yeah. I mean,
But
like if like Supernova shows like signs that the people behind the films are more or less listening, actually taking the critiques towards the writing of the last couple of movies into heart, and actually like making steps to improve it, then yeah, then I absolutely will be like hell yeah, let's go, let's see how you guys kind of like redeem this franchise after GBK and GXK. But yeah, I am kind of with you. Like until that happen, until like GXK Supernova is like good, like even I'm not like not even asking for it to be great. Like just that, I mean, like if it's good, like unless it's good, then at least in the as far as like the writing side of things, then I definitely would be on the same boat of being like, you guys
Just
need.
give me
It's
my
like,
money
all right,
back. Give me my money back. I
not
want it
even
back.
that, just being like, guys, just reboot this. Like,
No, if it ends up being back, I will ask for a refund. Like I've never asked for a refund any time I go to the movies. Movies that I think are bad. Like I've never asked for a refund in my life. So
yeah, I
I
mean,
think
like, I would just be like, look, I'm not going to ask for my for a refund, but consider what my expression is tough love. Really, because I'm kind of there's always so much like I guess like it depends on like what it really does just depend on what Supernova does and what they end up doing with it with in terms of trying to salvage whatever GVK and
I think
GXK did. And
I think what sucks too is the fact that the writers and producers are working on the feedback that they received from the previous movie with GXK. So they might double down, they might not. But given the reception of GXK, how successful it was, I can't imagine them not doubling down or just continuing down the path that Adam Wingard set out for the MonsterVerse to go in. Um, and because the time to be uber critical was when GXK came out, and there were some dissenting voices, but not enough to dissuade public opinion. So they're
yeah,
operating on.
and even some some voices, at least like mine myself, I wasn't really as dissenting towards the writing on GXK when I first came out as I am now. So I think next considering like the way the title for GXK Supernova, like I mean, it's not like the way it's sort of stylized. Like not to say it's like a reflection of like the quality of the film is really, but like considering like how bright it looks. Maybe that has to do with the Supernova thing, where it's like, oh hey, it's like big and bright and bombastic, but I'm not sure.
I mean, it's not as it's a little desaturated compared to the oversaturated look of the previous movies, but there is like there seems to be like a focus on seriousness, but at the same time, I kind of doubt that that's the case, given everything we've talked about up until this point.
Yeah,
I think they might.
like that little teaser of GXK where it was just Scar King sitting on like a throne of bones with like a Godzilla and Kong skull there. People would go like, "Oh, this looks kind of serious."
Yeah, and so it might just be wanting, but I wouldn't. It wouldn't even matter if the movie's like super serious, because if it's bad, it's not going to matter. Which I don't think it does. I don't think it does matter.
No,
Because
not
I don't
really.
think it's gonna like even if the writing is
Yeah.
the character writing is good, I don't think the plot is gonna be good.
Yeah.
That's just a given. Like it's been set up to fail.
I'm
Uh,
gonna remain. I intend to remain hopeful. That they will, that they would, that they would improve. But it's it is just a fingers crossed thing more than anything.
at that point, like you're gonna have to sacrifice a child to I don't know Baphomet if you want it to be good.
You know what? Yeah, if I want the writing to be significant, a huge step up from the last couple of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
because
by
for
the
me,
way,
definitely, I think writing wise, I'm somewhat hopeful, or at least I'm hopeful that they will. It'll be a step up from GXK, because as I said before, like I do acknowledge that there are narrative flaws that I think could be easily fixed. Because I don't think, like world building wise, up to this point, I don't think there's as many plot holes, with like and to what you're saying, Blackaroni, that they need to address or fix. I think it would be rather easy to if there are. Like
mm,
that's my take on it.
like I said, I'm a little torn because like if they address it, then they might forget to actually write the story, and if they don't, they're still gonna be there. And at that point,
Well,
you're gonna
then
need a
what would you say
trilogy.
is like a middle ground?
My middle ground is just give Adam, not Adam, give Grant Spatore a trilogy of movies and a whole ass season of television.
I
That
probably would give him the trilogy because I don't know if I necessarily need people to watch a whole season of television just to be like, okay, people, you need to watch this whole season of television, like hours of content to have it
it could
to
be like
so
a
that
5 episode limited series. It doesn't have to be like 10 episodes long, or it could be like a 5 episode, or a
I'm a
four
little.
episode like
Well,
Chernobyl.
I mean, considering how well his name Monarch Legacy Monsters maybe was like sort of intended to do that, but look how well that went. So I'd probably just
We don't
stick with
talk
the
about
trilogy. I'd say like just make the trilogy count. I would say in that
we don't
regard.
talk about Monarch. We don't talk about Monarch.
No, we don't talk about Monarch. No, we don't talk about Monarch at all.
And on the subject of Space Godzilla, him as a villain, in my personal opinion, I think from the very beginning he was a very redundant villain. He was possibly like one of the most uninspired, boring villains that like there was one when I was doing my Heisei era movie marathon, I was writing notes for the movie, but every time I gazed to the screen, I just fell asleep because I was so bored. Even with the fight scenes, they were just Godzilla's versus. It took me 3 days to watch the entire movie. Every time I fell asleep, I just gave up and started all over again. It took me 3 days to finish them. I was so bored watching that movie. The movie's not good, but it was also like not interesting at all. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla is not a good movie, but
Yeah.
beyond that, I think Space Godzilla, as far as clone characters go, is possibly like the most uninteresting. So what? He's Godzilla from space, and he's got crystals. What would inspire an alien race to make a clone out of Godzilla? They want to take over the planet, and they want to replicate the most powerful creature there in order to dominate, take over. Right? Sure, fine, okay, sure. Why would you name it Space Godzilla? First of all,
I mean, maybe the aliens wouldn't. I guess.
the aliens would not name it Space Godzilla. That's just
well, that's what I'm saying. Like some, like some the Earthlings would probably call it Space Godzilla. Not real. Like
Maybe
the
the
aliens would just call him something else, like something else entirely. But yeah, it's like
because
I'm very
makes sense, kind of like how Metal Sonic makes sense or Mecha Sonic. That makes sense. Mecha Godzilla makes sense. Space Godzilla, really? That's the best you got?
Yeah, I mean, like the origins of Space Godzilla in his original incarnation, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, like that. Oh, that already is like very, like there's like questions that you just have to ask about.
How did they
like,
get the DNA to clone him? Is what I want to know.
Well, not no. The in Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, the DNA just like floated out into space because of Mothra, and it just
How?
I did. Yeah, that's
Well, I mean, didn't in the last film, didn't she go to space?
Yeah, well, she did go to space. Godzilla and Mothra Battle for Earth, she did go to space at the end and something like that. But then well, hold on a sec. They also posit another possible explanation that the DNA came from Biollante when she went up to space. It's like, okay, so you mean Biollante, the creature that existed before the time travel floops?
Wait, okay, so like first of all, how would they know it was Godzilla's DNA if they've never encountered Godzilla before? Secondly, if it was Mothra, then how would they know how much to extract from it? I mean, surely this version of space.
Well, wait, are you still assuming that aliens cloned Godzilla for the original or for the new would-be film?
No. The DNA in the Heisei. No, I'm talking about the Heisei version.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No, aliens didn't create Space Godzilla. Like the DNA, like I guess just like found some place or something, and they just
it went into a black hole. That's
it went to a black hole. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Godzilla's DNA is forever lost.
Well,
that's not how black holes work.
Yeah,
no, it's not.
It's a sci-fi rule, so suspend your disbelief.
That's not how that works.
That's not how suspension works.
That's not how suspension of disbelief
That's
works. I
not
mean,
how
even
the Force works.
as far back as when Godzilla versus Space Godzilla came out, we already knew how black holes work mathematically. They only suck, and suck. Kind of like the multiverse, but they only suck. That's all they do. How does gravitational flumes trigger a mutation?
Yeah, like the big, like it is the big, like black holes really are the big suck. That's really like if the big suck is a term that can be applied to anything on Earth. If there's one thing that it can be applied to, it's a black hole.
I mean, I got 2 of them. I mean, actually, no, I got 4 of them. But
Oh God, not like
wait,
that.
how many? How many holes do I have? I forgot.
Okay, I'm not that interested to find out.
I mean, we're talking about black holes. But yeah, no, like that's contrived.
Yeah, but the point that I was going to make that I'm trying to make here is like the original origin of Space Godzilla in the Heisei era is already pretty tismy as it is. Like, so to try to like do him in the MonsterVerse, like, yo, like, boy, you better what are you gonna do with that?
Overhaul. You better
Yeah,
overhaul.
you're gonna have to overhaul, especially when like what reason could there be for Godzilla DNA to be sent to space? Like, so yeah, like if we're doing the supernova thing, like the more if you ask me, considering that Ghidorah came from space, like he crashed into Earth at some point, you may as well just have it be like another alien monster, like from there, like Orga or Gigan or something like that. Actually, Orga probably would work a little more. Orga, I would not mind if Orga was what they went with, because like Gigan, I mean, yeah, cyborg alien. I mean, yeah, we love Gigan, but I don't know if he fits with what the Monsterverse is going for. Orga, I can see work.
Honestly, if they choose Gigan, that's possibly like the best choice that they could make, because number one, Gigan is freaking awesome, and secondly, I think it would make a lot more sense than Space Godzilla, because Space Godzilla, there's absolutely no way you could make it make sense if you're going to adapt it 1-for-1 from the original movie.
Yeah, and as I think about it, like Gigan probably would make more sense from a marketing standpoint because he's like a lot more recognizable than Orga.
On top of the fact that like even like if you're trying to write a way to have him in the movie, you could just say, we have an alien, there's an alien species that is monitoring Earth, and they're seeing Godzilla, and Godzilla seems to be like this really cool fighter, so we want to pit him against our cyborg so that we can test our cyborg's ability, so that we can defend ourselves from an alien emperor killer god named Space Godzilla. So Gigan and Godzilla team up to kill Space Godzilla, and then it's revealed that Gigan is actually evil because his AI develops a conscience because I don't know, he's tired of being a slave to the people working for him. Like, he's kind of like Nebula from the MCU in a sense. So he turns against his own people, and he turns against Godzilla, and then he teams up with Megalon at some point. Like, I don't know, maybe like another movie where he teams up with Megalon, who's like,
yeah, I mean, if Supernova is meant to be like concerned, I mean, it came to mind. It's GX. The movie is titled GXK Supernova, so we'd have to like figure out to fit Kong in. So maybe probably. So
he's Godzilla. He's just Kong. He's just Kong. Don't worry about him. He's just tagging along.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like just kind of like scale it back a bit. Like, we don't need to introduce, like, maybe like save Megalon for like a sequel or something. But
yeah, that's what I was suggesting. As for Kong, he's kind of just. I mean, the movie is supposed to be Godzilla centered, so it's Godzilla centered. So even then, I think Kong would have been put in the back burner regardless.
Yeah.
That would not make any sense, but it would not be as badly written as GVK or GXK. I think it would make.
Yeah, if you go the Gigan route or the Orga route, it would. If you go the Gigan route, like you said, or the Orga route, like I suggested, then which Orga would just be, like an alien life form that, much like Ghidorah, kind of found his way to Earth, or maybe like not even necessarily like accidentally, like he notices like some kind of signature or something like that of like the most badass life form on this planet, and he's gonna be like, "Yo, I want some of that." You know,
Really,
he's
see,
Godzilla.
really, Kaiju Vor in the big 2025.
I did not say kaiju vor, not like that.
I mean, you can't spell Vor without or, ga,
Yeah.
because
I
that's
know
the
for me,
Vor
one
monster.
thing is definitely I do not want the kaiju themselves at this point in time to go to space. Like I don't want to put Kong in a giant monkey suit and
No,
go
no,
to
no, no.
space.
We don't want
But if
that.
the characters themselves, I think, are in space, I think that's fine. Like if you do like let's see, like because one pitch I had earlier was that if some agency took Godzilla cells to space for study of some kind, any a better writer could probably make a better reason. And then like a space disaster happens that mutates the cells. Like that's one possible way I think they could do Space Godzilla if they are doing him. Like what
What
do you guys think of
reason?
that?
Yeah, like I would flesh that out more because what reason would they have to like study? It's not that that doesn't happen in real life. That kind of thing does happen in real life, where some biological samples are sent to the ISS and for study because with lower gravity it's easier to study some things, or like with zero gravity it's easier to study certain biological samples, I guess. But Godzilla cells something as volatile and not as well understood as human cells or plant cells or any other cell that is not Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, when you take into account, like, how do Godzilla's cells in as far as Titanis Gojira, like, how do they even work? Like, how would we know that they would even operate the same way as Heisei Godzilla cells? Let's just as an example, because the whole Biolante and Space Godzilla example.
Sure, but like also, I mean, they would probably just be doing general studies on things.
I mean, if it
Because I
was
mean,
general, then why would they go to space to do it? Like if it was
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
not that they wouldn't have a reason for it, but it's like it would just be
I guess
like,
coming
what
up with the reason.
exactly?
I couldn't come up with a reason, but if there is a reason that exists, I would happily take it. Just to say that there is a reason. But just off the dome, I can't think of any reason why, if it's a general study, they would go to space. Like that just seems like the thing that needs to happen to facilitate
Yeah.
the plot.
You'd have to you kind of have to sort of think about it a bit and be like, how do I get this to where we get from point A to point B with that?
Do you guys think that the writers thought this far into the movie? Do you guys think they had these kinds of discussions?
Well, I don't know. Like the movie just it's like the teaser said that the movie is now in production, so I don't know.
I mean, the writing phase is like, if we already have a teaser, then the writing phase is already over. We're now
Yeah, the writing phase is already over. I mean, at this point, we don't even know what the movies. We don't even know what the movie is even technically about per se.
Yeah.
At this point, we're just
the only thing we have to go off on is like space is involved somehow.
Yeah. And even then, Supernova.
I don't really know.
And even then, Supernova, that could just be like, I don't even know if it would even have much to do with space, really. Who even knows?
Maybe it has to do with the fact that Godzilla goes supernova, like Johnny Storm, like from the Fantastic Four. He dies. He dies protecting the planet from Destroyer, because Destroyer was set up in Godzilla King of the Monsters, but we don't talk about that because Michael Dougherty and Adam Wingard decided that didn't happen.
Well, Adam Wingard said that it didn't happen.
No. Because I say that because Michael Dougherty worked with Adam Wingard in GVK.
Well, I mean, yeah, well, true, but maybe true. But I think Adam, Dougherty probably just left the room at one point, and Wingard's like, all right, let's just change that.
Hey, I see his name in the credits. He's just as responsible for the result of GVK as anybody
for the
else.
story, not the screenplay, like the story concepts, but not like the story.
I mean, if it carried over to the movie, if his original pitch made it over to the movie, then yeah.
Yeah, but how much of the original pitch made it to the film?
I mean, knowing Dougherty, it wouldn't even matter. It would have turned out bad anyway.
I mean, it can't be worse than GVK. What we got with GVK Vortex.
Mhm.
Never
Are you guys hoping
never
that?
underestimate the power of human stupidity. Like as we've
Yeah.
Uh,
seen from up from the
Like I
depths.
trust, like if you ask me, I trust Doherty more than
mm,
the Wingard at this point.
I'm Wingard all the way. Bring
Yeah,
Wingard back. I hope
yeah,
he
of
gets
course
story
you are.
credits.
yeah. I mean,
Of
we kind of
course you
figured
are.
that.
Of course you are. But Vic, this is your channel. I've been hogging the mic this entire time. I literally am hogging the mic. I have a mic. What are your overall? What is your overall in-depth analysis?
Of what we have so far.
The conversation, the trailer, the lore, the writing,
Well,
world building.
as I've said, I hope that narratively, like narrative wise, things are more fleshed out and better written than the concepts of GXK or GVK, because I do think that's something that like for me it doesn't hold either of those films back from being like what I think is good about those films, but they are flaws of the films. So I hope that's taken care of. And I don't think it would be as hard to where you would need to have three films and or a show to explain it away. Like I think I would accept if there's like some like lines in there that explain things that have happened so far, or even like I think as simple as like in the opening credits have newspapers, have like press conferences flashing on screen, and stuff, and then have some other people talk about it throughout the film. And I don't think it would necessarily get in the way of the story being told, because I think having lines like those help with like establishing certain things that can happen in the story.
Right.
Like you can have like a screen displaying what's been happening in Rio. You can have a screen saying, oh, there's a new Hong Kong monitoring station for a new portal, and that explains what's happening with the Hong Kong hole. That because like I said before, I think I mentioned that I would just have something that shows that now that there's a hole in Hong Kong, just explain that there was a portal there.
Hmm.
Because I think because one thing that I think GXK did well was explaining that the portal between like in between the portals, it's not just some big empty space. There's actually like a physical tunnel there. Because one thing I will credit it for is that they did show that there was a physical tunnel there that they're just fast traveling through. That in GVK it was just a big void, but they changed it
Yeah,
in
that's what I was
GXK.
gonna say. Like in GVK, it was a huge void. I will grant you that it's a tunnel, but all that means is that where the mantle of the planet should be, it's just rock. So that kind
Yeah,
of just destroys the entire planet. Like even if you could say that yes, there is a portal there where Godzilla bore the hole, which by the way is extremely convenient, super convenient, insurmountably convenient. In fact, so
Yeah.
convenient that I would wonder why Godzilla wouldn't even need to bore a hole there to begin with.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's also just the fact that the world has been destroyed 2 times over, and the entire plot from Act 1 to Act 2 has been rendered irrelevant because of what Godzilla did in boring the hole through the portal. Because Monarch could have just done the same thing in a different location with a
and
Yeah. I
different
I
mean,
would
I guess it's
at that
just.
that had a
point.
I mean, I guess it's just. I'm sorry, Vic, I interrupt you. I guess it's just kind of a matter of like the reason why they didn't do that is just because of like time. Like they were just like in a time, like time essentially. Like
No, that's the thing. Godzilla was
I don't think it's
distracted
that.
with
I don't think
the
it's that.
Mecha Godzilla. That's the thing. Like his priorities constantly shift whenever the plot needs it
well,
to.
I'm
Like it's
talking
like
about how like Eileen and Lind and like the group that just take Kong off of Skull Island to the Hollow Earth.
yeah,
Like when
the
you put
reason
to
why they
ask like
did
how
that.
come they didn't why what like how would it be like so hard for them to like bore a hole to get Kong to Hollow Earth if Godzilla could just do that
Well,
himself. It's like well
And
it's
even
just gonna
then, like
matter
they
of
have
yeah,
timing and
maps. Like they
resources.
have
But
I
maps as
think
well. Like they have a whole map where they have
yeah.
the entrances. At that point, like you don't need Kong to find it if you have a map, because a map would mean you mapped everything out. And from what we see that Simmons has,
yeah,
Godzilla's
he
optional.
he actually has that. Like
Yeah, And apparently, Monarch has already has outposts there, so you don't need Kong. You never did.
Well, I
Well,
mean, the outposts. Well, there's the outpost that leads to the portal in Antarctica that Kong is in, but they didn't set up any outposts in the Hollow Earth until the very end of GVK.
They needed Kong to find the energy source within the Hollow Earth. I'm gonna put a linchpin on that. The energy source is literally just radiation. How do I know it's radiation? Well, Vivian Graham in 2014 said that when radiation levels in the surface subsided, they decided to feed on radiation from underground. The life force sustains the Titan, as in food. What else could the life force be but radiation? You know what else is found? You know where else radiation is found in? Nuclear power plants, which you still have.
Yeah, I mean, like, keep in mind, like, if the axe, if the radiation, if the power source that they need for Mechagodzilla, is in the Hollow Earth, it's radiation. It is radiation. Kong's axe is powered by that, and it's the same kind of energy that Godzilla, shoots from his atomic breath. Because when Kong has his axe, charged by Godzilla's atomic breath, that implies that it runs on that kind of energy, that radioactive energy. So,
And if you don't want to use that roundabout way of justifying the fact that it's radiation, we could look at the line that is said the moment it's activated. Eileen Andrews says, and I quote, "The axe is drawing radiation from the core of the planet like it's charging." She says that
yeah,
I
verbatim.
would say that's
she
sort of an
does say that.
implication that it's a special kind of radiation.
She
And once
doesn't
they
say it's a special
synthesize
kind
it,
of radiation.
She doesn't have to say it's a special kind of radiation. She says it's radiation
Like in
from the
general, and it
core.
looks exact.
from the
Yes,
core.
and it looks exactly the same as Godzilla's atomic breath. So what
Yeah,
else could
but
it be?
like again, it's always implied that that's like a special kind of radiation. It's not just regular radiation.
Implied by what? There has to be setup for that kind of thing. Where would the implication come from?
Because in the readings they said it's the same source that Godzilla uses, or it's the same thing that Godzilla's
Atomic
emitting.
breath?
Well, what Simmons says,
So
like,
what?
we could find this. Well, I think Simmons says, like, early in the film, he's like, we can find this energy source that is that, like, something along, like, I don't have the exact line in my head there, but it's like something to the effect of, oh, hey, if we can get into this Hollow Earth, we can get this energy source that's very similar to our aggressive Titan friend, that being Godzilla. Like, I mean, they did say that earlier in the film, so.
I
Well,
will
they did that, and
with
also
Alan
he said
Jonah.
that the readings are similar to Godzilla.
Well, yeah, but he said that because at the time he didn't actually have the readings to confirm that it was similar at all. But at the point in time where we actually saw it, it behaved exactly like Godzilla's atomic breath. So
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, considering that it charges Kong's axe, that like
yeah,
it does
which
that,
is made of dorsal plate.
which is made of Godzilla dorsal plate. So yeah, that too. I mean, like if it was any other, kind of radiation, then it would.
That it would set it on, it would maybe create a flaming axe, I guess. And that also begs the question, when Godzilla's dorsal plates are lit up, does that mean that they're like razor sharp and therefore like he can cut through anything? Because if that's the case, then when Ghidorah was wrapping around him, he could have just charged his atomic breath and sliced right through him.
I'm not even sure.
Therefore, King of the Monsters is bad. Settled?
No, that's
No,
GVK.
no, no, no,
That's
no, no,
GVK.
no, GVK, no. You can't,
No,
cannot blame
no.
King of the Monsters for
Which
something that
film?
GVK did. Okay.
You're not Max Hallow, okay? You're not Max Hallow. Don't do that.
Which film bombed in theaters? I rest my case.
That's not the point.
I do agree King of the Monsters is bad. That's not the reason why I would say it's bad.
I don't agree that King of the Monsters is bad, and I will.
Well, then
but I
you're
would,
wrong.
Well, I mean, here, no, Black, listen, Black already. We're on, like, we should be on the same page right now as far as like trying to.
On the same page, we're not even in the same library, my guy.
We're supposed to be on the. No, we're on the same side. Like, look at us, Vic. What are you doing to us?
It's not so easy, Sea Monster, huh? When the foot's on your end.
We're not even on the same library. Oh, that's a good one. Someone quote that.
Oh.
But yeah, no, like
Well, here's the thing. I mean, John Carpenter's The Thing, bombed, but does that make bombed when it came out? Is that a bad movie now? Like, we're just going on that logic?
Yes, because Ben Grimm did not show up and didn't say it's clobbering time. All we got was just some alien thing.
Yeah,
Not
it like a literal thing.
yeah.
Like
I love how the entire team has really cool superhero names like Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and then Ben Grimm is just the Thing. His best friend, by the way, his best friend who suffers from depression and low self-esteem because of his rocky appearance. He calls him the Thing. No, he lets people call him the Thing.
yeah, I guess it's either that or hard rock. I don't know.
Hard Rock sounds awesome. It sounds like a
Well,
wrestling.
I'm saying that because then Johnny Storm could just make fun of him.
Hard Rock sounds like a wrestler name from WWE. I think Ben Grimm would like that. But
then Human Torch would just use that as like a joking remark about phallic related stuff.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it is most of the time.
I mean, well, yeah, but still.
Yeah,
that's why he just stuck with the Thing because it's like you're like okay, like if I'm just called a thing, then it's not. Then there isn't really. I don't know.
It's just so dehumanizing that it's funny. Like imagine your best friend. They just you and your wife and your wife's brother get super cool superhero names, and your best friend is just called a Thing. Like he's not even human anymore. He's just a Thing. That's so messed up. I love it. I could see Dr. Doom taunting Reed Richards for doing that. I could see that.
Look at you, Stretch Armstrong.
Your wife is pregnant, and I delivered your baby and named her, and you let everyone call your best friend the Thing, and somehow I'm the villain, Richards. I'm the villain.
What does anyone even think about that Fantastic Four movie that's going to be coming out? Like, I'm not even sure if it's going to be any good.
I thought it was going to be good until I realized that John. I thought it was going to be good until I realized that John Watts was no longer attached to it. Then I lost all hope.
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns about it. Like, even if it is in a different universe, so like some rules made like whatever like rules that may have been contradicted 100 times over in the main MCU timeline may not necessarily apply in the whatever alternate universe this
I
new
hate the cast. I don't like the cast at all. I hate it, especially Johnny.
I'm not really familiar with that guy. And Pedro Pascal, he's kind of been Pedro Pascal's kind of like a bit overdone. Not familiar with the actor who plays the Thing either.
The actor that plays Johnny Storm is the same guy that did that one guy from Dungeons and Dragons Club from Stranger Things, the latest season. The guy that died, the guy with the guitar.
That guy.
Yeah,
well, I mean, I've never seen Stranger Things, so I have like no reference about
Stranger Things fell off, dude. It used to be.
I didn't realize that.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
It stopped being interesting. I don't think I'm gonna watch the final season. I don't really care anymore.
I mean, Vanessa Kirby probably could be all right as Sue Storm, pretty much, because I mean, she's been. I mean, I mentioned Mission Impossible Fallout because I recently rewatched it earlier tonight. It's still an awesome.
She's not comic accurate. Comic accurate Storm is Comic accurate Sue Storm is a MILF. Does that look like a MILF to you? She looks like a wine mom.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that is that I expect Sue Storm to be a MILF. Have you not played Marvel Rivals?
No, I haven't.
Good. That game is highly addictive, especially, dude. I got the freaking Vengeance Psylocke skin, the Sue Storm Malice skin, the Punk Child Magic skin, and notice how all the skins are the ones that have the most amount of skin revealing from those characters in particular. And I cannot play Emma Frost for the life of me, not because I don't like her design, I just don't like her moveset. It's not as interesting as I thought it was. Except her ult. I like her ult. But yeah, no, like I thought I was gonna like playing as Emma Frost, but I didn't. On top of the fact that I get very easily distracted by her model. I mean, come on, dude. Like they physically widened her hips just so that she could have a wider hitbox, just so that she could be a tank. That's dedication.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be able to handle.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd be able to handle that. I'd be like, I barely would be able to handle myself. When Amber Frost was done in X-Men Legends, from 2004.
Nice. Yeah, I'm telling you, Marvel Rivals is just Overwatch for gooners. I'm gonna let y'all figure out the irony in that statement. Just let it simmer in, like the irony. Just think about it. Overwatch for gooners. Just think about that for a second. Think about that. But back to Godzilla.
Yeah.
Vic, I have a challenge for you. I have a challenge. You should you don't have to do this, but you should one day make a video explaining why GVK or GXK or even 98 are actually good movies. 'Cause I want to see like the full thought process, because in different disparate streams we've been getting tidbits and like little hints at what your arguments are. I want to see the full picture. I want to see your mind on a table and you explaining to me what the synapses do.
We want you to take a canvas and put it all on there.
Just take a canvas and paint.
Yeah, I am definitely trying to get into doing like I guess maybe a more structured video out. Did anyone see the stream I did not too long ago? My In Defense of stream?
I caught some bits of it, but I didn't really watch the whole thing, so no.
When was this? Because I look I've been looking through streams of your channel where you talk about GXK or GVK, and I couldn't find anything in particular. I don't know if it was because of the title or something, but
it's just titled In Defense of GXK. I did it let's see, 10 days ago, so like the other week.
Oh, let's see.
You might have to go to like my live.
Was that before or after the Titan Chasers thing?
It was after that.
So Drawcast number 5, number 6, Predator, Alien, and Travers, In Defense of GXK and the Future of the Monsterverse. Oh, that I have not seen that. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I did. I try my best to go into some of the defenses I have for it, and also a little bit of my thought processes. Because I was also inspired by you guys, obviously, to do that one. So I did my best to try to explain some more of the stuff that I've explained on other streams as well. Go a little bit more in depth with that. I might do more, and then definitely also do follow-ups if you guys have anything to say on those, if you guys watch it.
I will watch it after this and do that instead of sleeping, which is probably not a good idea, but
I probably have to go through. I probably have to take a listen through the whole thing and the playback, and sort of get back to on that. But I'll just have to. Yeah. I have to find the time for it though.
Who needs sleep? Honestly, sleep is overrated.
Honestly, I'm in the middle because my sleep schedule has been fucked up as of recently. So there's that. I'm horrible at that too.
Yeah, you know what sucks is that you sleep and then you just don't rest. You go through all the sleep processes. You go through REM, but you don't actually rest. Even if you sleep early, you just feel tired regardless. I hate that. Yeah. I have always hated that. When I was in AIT, that I would get these blackouts, and I didn't understand why, because I did get relatively good sleep, not perfect sleep, but just enough to function throughout the day. I would drink a bunch of energy drinks just to keep me awake, and they just made me even more tired. One day I got 5-hour energy, and I was hammered right after that. I felt like I was drunk. I was doing this one test for circuitry, and I needed help because I didn't understand the question, but I was like stumbling like a drunk man. And so one of the trainees was like answering, "Hey, how are these two circuits related?" And my dumbass went, um, they're cousins."
You know a thing or two about cousins, don't you, Blackaroni?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm straight out of Alabama.
We got a pretty good idea of that when you made the reference to that in the Up from the Depths GXK stream.
Hey, what can I say? My family line is full of baddies. uh, Sweet home Alabama.
Oh, Joe Schmo is here.
Joe Smo, hey yo.
Yeah. I initially, when I made that joke, I was initially gonna say, what was he doing with those fragile little life? What was he doing with that fragile little life of his? And he was just like a 6-year-old. He wasn't even investing in Bitcoin. He was playing with Godzilla X Kong toys. When I was his age, I could have invested in the in the housing market. I could have invested in a Dogecoin. I would have become a billionaire by the age of 10. But no, I was busy in my mom's womb. I was too busy. I was too busy being born. I could have been investing in the stock market. Oh boy. We get up to silly antics. But is there anything more to say in regards to GXK Supernova or that other Godzilla thing that came out?
Oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah. I do want to talk about that one at least a little bit. Is it the Southeast Asia one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the concept. The cinematography uses a lot of soft lighting, which makes everything look like it's AI generated. Like, I swear I have seen AI generated pictures that look exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm not crazy. I mean, I like the design of Godzilla, and I definitely think it's pretty interesting to have him have the green atomic breath. But yeah, the way it's shot, the way it all just the way the visuals sort of like come together, like it looks. There's something about that looks kind of off about it.
Yeah, especially, and also the fact that Godzilla's movements seem to be at a higher frame rate than 24 frames per second. I don't know if that's like a product, because like also the formation of the dorsal plates is exactly the same as something like what AI would make. Like, I've made a couple of AI pictures as like tests for different Godzilla, and even like right after that, even like after the trailer came out, I decided to recreate it just to make sure I wasn't going crazy. And sure enough, the dorsal plates look extremely similar. So like I want to maybe they designed that version of Godzilla with AI, like conceptualize it, and then just made a 3D render out of it to say that it's not.
It's also just like an ad, right? Like a tourism ad. Like, it's not hinting at anything official, right?
I thought it was like a special or something, like a short.
Like, it's definitely it's an anniversary thing, but I think it's like just a general Southeast Asia like tourism ad.
As far as like the roar goes, like the roar kind of sounds
like an amalgamation of every roar ever, but pitched down.
Yeah, it kind of it doesn't really sound like. Yeah, like the roar. I'm not the biggest fan of the roar. It kind of seems like I don't know what they were trying to go for, but they kind of overdid it a bit.
It sounds messy. It sounds messy. It sounds like they pitched down the Heisei era roar and pitched the Monsterverse roar slightly above the Heisei era roar, but still lower than the original. So it kind of sounds like a lot more intimidating, but it just doesn't achieve that effect. It just sounds kind of messy and disorganized.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even, and it's not even like what like the -1 Goji was going for, where like there's like a lot where the roar sounds really loud to get the sense of like how of scale here. Like the roar for this Godzilla just kind of like, yeah, it sounded like they just took like a couple different Godzilla roars, layered them on top of each other, tweaked it, and it just didn't like it. Just it's not very distinct, the most distinguishable in terms of like you can't even like hear like the the right
The inflection,
tunes,
the
if you
pitch
will.
up, like the pitch up at the end of the roar, like thing. Like you couldn't
Yeah,
hear like the inflection of the roar. You couldn't hear
yeah,
it at all.
yeah. The
Like it took me
inflection of the
several.
roar is just like kind of the way the inflection of the roar of the iconic roar is the way it's done here is just off.
Yeah, like it took me several rewatches of that clip to really realize, oh, this is actually Godzilla's roar. It's not just some like just the wind being really really loud. Um,
Yeah,
it's weird. It's a weird roar. I don't hate it. It's not. I don't hate it, but like at the same time, I'm confused by it. Why didn't you go for like a modernized? Because what minus one did was like they tried to modernize and the 1954 roar to sound more. I don't know, present day. You know, like if it was constructed with the equipment we had today, that's what it would sound like. It kind of sounds deep fried. The minus one roar kind of sounds a little bit deep fried, but kind of like you're receiving like a lot of feedback from the from the sounds from the speakers. uh
yeah,
so but it's not a bad roar. They could have done something similar with the Heisei era roar.
yeah.
um,
They could have done that. Yeah, honestly.
but even then that would have been harder to do because like the equipment used to create the Heisei era roar was of a much higher sound quality. Like the recording devices used to record Godzilla's Heisei roar was of a much higher quality than the one they used for the 1954 roar. So even then, that would have been a hard enough of a task as it is.
Yeah. No.
Because like, there's
Yeah,
not a whole
I
lot to
was-
improve upon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wish this was like an animated short. I wish this was an animated short because I want to see this specific version of Godzilla just destroying Southeast Asia. That specific area, like a montage of like different tourist attractions and yeah. See, this specific frame in particular, it looks AI generated, but at the same time, I don't know because again, the soft lighting, the atmosphere, the posing, the pose of the Godzilla's pose in this particular instance, um, his stance, his body size in relation
Yeah.
to the background. Like I can't tell how big he is. I can't tell how small he is. Like if you like, there's no way to really like understand just how big he is or small he is. So. And AI has a really tough time with scale unless you're like being uber specific. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's assuming they even used AI with this.
I hope they didn't.
Yeah, because part
Yeah, I
of
hope
me,
it
because
And if they did, then I wish they admitted to it. Then
yeah, because I kind of like some things about this design. Like I would say I like the dorsal plates and the tail better than on the minus one design. I don't know how I feel about the body. Like
I like that it's
it also
more
has these-
articulated. Like it looks
Yeah.
like you could like move it in different places as opposed to just having it be stiff. Oh, by the way, you might want to like mute the audio but let the video play out, just so that we the
Yeah,
audience.
see.
Oh, this specific frame, dude! It looks. I don't know if it's the clouds, but he looks unrendered for some reason. I don't know why. It looks like he's missing textures. I don't know. It just could be me, but yeah, the dorsal plates look. Oh, this specific shot when he's rising out of the ocean, it looks so funky, dude.
Yeah, it looks like they kind of placed like this sort of like their own mock of a Godzilla design in front of like the background of like the 2014 poster.
It looks like a
Is
still
this Hong
image.
Kong?
I'm
No,
not even sure.
Or
No.
what
no,
is
it's not.
this?
It's not because it's Southeast.
I just
It's
seen the
Southeast
Ferris
Asia,
wheel.
so-
Oh yeah, that's right. So
Yeah,
where is
so-
this? I don't know where this is.
I hope Godzilla goes to destroy India.
And then there's the
Dude.
green atomic breath.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
I like that specific shade of green. It's a very deep shade of green, and I like that his eyes also shine when he uses it. That's like okay. So I like the concept of Godzilla's eyes glowing when he uses his atomic breath. I don't like that they take up the entire whole of the eye. I just rather have the iris itself glowing. And I like that they did that here. I like that
Yeah,
they
it
did.
looks yeah, that
It looks
actually looks pretty
menacing.
cool.
Yeah, and it
He's got
emphasizes
ears
the
too.
pupil. It emphasizes the pupil, which also makes him even more menacing and a lot more reptilian. I thought that was really good. I thought that was a
Yeah.
really good choice.
Yeah, I don't mind the whole eye sort of glowing, with like some iterations, but yeah, this looks pretty neat. I do like it. I
There's
do
like a
like
better version of the eyes glowing and from the MonsterVerse because like with the
this.
MonsterVerse, it's like the entire eye, like the entire whole of the eye. No space for us to like see the sclera or anything.
Hmm.
I like that. I like this conceptually. I hope this is a short film. You'll see there in those two specific shots. Like, yeah, he's moving in such a buttery smooth way that he looks like he's walking at like I don't know, 40 frames per second.
And I can't help but think that some of that the spikes look like they kind of change, in each different shot. Like it just kind of look like some shots they look a bit like an amalgamation between like I don't know like Kiryu Goji and Shin Goji, and you get like some shots where the spikes like especially when he's like swimming in the where the spines are like just the spine sticking out of the water, they look like a black version of the GXK spines, but like more toned down in terms of like how wide they are.
Yeah,
It's like
I wish if it is AI, then I hope they come out and just admit it because at least they're being honest about it. But I
like
hope
yeah, we used AI, we maybe tweaked it a little bit, but yeah, it was mostly AI. But yeah, hopefully.
it still looks cool.
Yeah, it's not bad design.
It's not my like as far as design goes, it's not like my favorite, but just the fact that it has a green atomic breath at all is just interesting.
Yeah, the green atomic breath is pretty much like the neatest thing about that version.
I also like the crocodilian tail. It looks a lot more crocodilian than other versions.
I like that one better than how it was on -1.
I don't think -1 was trying to go for something more crocodilian. I think they were just trying to recreate the Heisei era design, which I'm iffy about. Like on one hand, I understand why you would go there, but at the same time, like I've said in the past that I think the Final Wars design is just a better Heisei design, so I would rather they go with that instead. But then that would be too indistinguishable from mine.
I mean, you can call back to Heisei or Final Wars, but you gotta like make it your own still. So like some amalgamation of your own thing and something from the past. Like there's like a middle ground there, and I'd say -1 kind of did that pretty well.
Yeah. I like that he looks gnarly in -1. He looks very gnarly.
Oh yeah, that's a great.
That's one thing I did like about that one.
He's very unpleasant to look at in a good way. Like
Yeah.
he's not handsome like MonsterVerse Goji. He's like terrifying to look at. I like that.
Yeah,
I still
he
kinda
looks
like
vicious.
the Island one better.
The what?
The Odo Island one, the premutation. I think that one
Godzillasaurus
was better. Yeah.
I mean, it's better animated. It's the Godzillasaurus. It has better animation, so yeah, I could understand why one would say that, and I do agree. I do agree, like to some extent, like the Godzillasaurus.
To be honest, the animation thing is kind of like it mainly just kind of falls on what they were going for it because like when he's like mutated, he's like much larger, so there's like a lot more mass to him, so he wouldn't really move like as fluently, like one would say as fluently as the Odo Island version. So like because with that one, like he at least like the Odo Island version, he's like not that much bigger than like a T-Rex essentially, like so he can still move pretty quickly.
No, but the thing is that you see him in the Ginza scene where he's like actively using his arms to tear down the what's it called, the and then the theater, and you also see him like what's it called, spinning around, well not spinning around, but turning around with his tail and brushing through the civilians, and then you also see him the lunge that he does to roar. It almost looks like he's not even kneeling properly. It looks like his legs are just frozen in place as he lunges forward to roar. So I don't think that has a lot to do with fluidity as much as it is like staging.
Well, it's not like he's actively like shifting the weight of his legs to do that.
But yeah, no, that's precisely the problem. He should be doing that. Like he should be like kneeling forward, bending the knee, roaring so that his entire body is in on the roar and then recoil back.
You
But
sure
no,
it's
the
not
movement.
the angle of the shot necessarily?
No, no, it has nothing to do with the angle of the shot. Like the model itself is the one that's doing the work.
Hmm.
Yeah, I picked up a couple things. I wish Brayden was here to explain it better because he's like the animation expert. But
yeah.
yeah, everything I know about animation is both thanks to him and this guy called Noodle. When I first watched this video, like I was like in, I don't know, like at the end of middle school, and he like, actually no, I was in high school, and I was introduced like the 12 principles of animation, which the MonsterVerse in the later titles decide to ignore. But yeah, no, I had a. I'm trying to learn Blender like right now. Like I am trying to learn Blender, so just so that I can, have a better concept of how the animation process works, and so that when, I make the following parts of my GVK video, which will probably come around in like, I don't know, 10 years from now, I can also talk about just how terrible the animation is in terms of like scale and size and weight and all that stuff, all that good stuff, and accurately explain it beyond, the Titans are not moving like their movements require effort. I just wanted to get into more clinical terms, which is why I'm learning Blender. And also just because I like animation as a whole, I want to make this. I want to make a short fights. The Invincible versus Morbius fight that was based on a real dream that I had. I want to do that, and just try and reanimate Godzilla versus Kong to look good, and yeah. And I don't know, maybe like make movies and projects with Blender. But yeah, I think the MonsterVerse should benefit from, learning proper animation again, because it used to be really well animated. Just look at
relearn it is what you mean. Like they gotta
relearn it. Yeah,
Yeah,
relearn it.
Do you have
2014 nailed
for
it.
that?
You
Well,
go
do you have any
ahead.
hope for that
Nailed
with
it.
the people who were working on the new one? Because I pulled it up a little bit earlier. Let me pull it up again. They had some other people working on it. I think some different people. But that people were mentioning people from Pacific Rim Uprising are working on it.
That's not promising at all.
Well,
That's
I know the cinematographer for Pacific Rim Uprising is doing Supernova. Dan Mindell, I think is his name.
Oh no. You know what? We'll keep an open mind. Maybe he's done better looking works. I haven't seen.
He did Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, I believe. He did that one.
Is that the one with Henry Cavill?
No, that's Fallout. No, Fallout is one with Henry Cavill. Ghost Protocol is like the fourth movie. Fallout's the sixth.
Oh, I haven't been keeping up with my Mission Impossible movies because I get bored because each mission turns out to be completely possible. So,
well, I mean, well, that's why you get Tom Cruise, to do them. So because it's impossible for everyone else, but for him, it's like well, almost impossible sometimes.
Mission slightly possible. with a 99% chance of failure possible.
There's even a 1% chance.
If there's even a 1% chance that Godzilla's our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
Absolute certainty.
Because I think there are also people because I think some of the same people also worked on like some of the other Transformers ones. Revenge of the Fallen, I think someone mentioned.
Oh
Uh,
no! Someone had to animate that Autobot scrotum.
you mean Devastator screwed him?
Oh wait, was that an Autobot? I haven't seen that movie in
Devastator is
ages.
a Decepticon. The
Oh,
Decepticons tore the pyramid up, and they used Devastator for it. The Autobots don't want to do that.
I
Well,
think
didn't
I've only
want to
s-
do it.
I don't remember that. I don't because I've only because like over first of all like that movie I think I've only ever seen it once, and for two like they all just kind of blend together because my brother would be watching them all the time, and I would just sit there watching it with him. He only watched it because he's a car aficionado. He loves cars, so he watches the movies for the cars, not for the actual Transformers. So because of that, they just kind of blended together.
I'm pretty sure
What
Devastator doesn't sound like an Autobot name. I mean, I
what
don't
And
got you
know.
running your
we got
favorite?
you got Cliff Jumper,
Cliff
uh
Jumper's an Autobot, yep.
you got Reach Around.
Reach
There's
around.
no reach around.
Yeah, you do. And then you got the Decepticon named called Cock and Ball Torture.
I'm sure he's not in that either, but I mean, we're probably thinking, I don't know what Transformers movie you're watching.
Oh, that's a reference to a skit with Solid JJ.
Oh yeah, Dan. Okay. Mendel also did Twisters. All right.
Yeah.
John
Okay.
Schaefer did Godzilla vs Kong, not promising. Thomas Toll did Dune Part 2, that is extremely
He's
promising.
a he's a produ- he's the one of the produce. Well, he's the producer for Legendary.
Ah, never mind then.
I mean he's one of he's a producer. I mean, Legendary. They produced the Dune movie, so it's like like they slap you in the balls and then they give you a reach around right afterwards. So
Uh, they don't cut their nails when they give you the reach around, so it just kind of cuts through the Long Johnson. It just cuts it in the
yeah,
ribbon.
but
And
you're
it kind
real.
of
Yeah, but
hurts.
they are still giving you the reach around. So just go with it.
Like,
Yeah. I
can they
think
like
Kelly
cut?
Port.
Can you like cut your nails before you give me the reach around? Because they hurt. You cut me. You cut me,
Yeah.
Legendary. You cut me really deeply, and it gets infected. And
Okay,
it hurts me.
what is it you're trying to point out, Vic? Here?
Oh, I think Kelly Port was the VFX supervisor. Is going to be the VFX supervisor for this one. They did
The-
Revenge of the Fallen, King Kong, Infinity War, Endgame, and Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Spider-Man No Way Home was done by the same people that did The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and somehow it looks worse. I don't know how.
um, well, Peter Jackson is it Peter Jackson's King Kong?
Yeah,
Let me.
2005.
Well, yeah, I mean Peter Jackson's King Kong yeah, I mean I'll say Revenge of the Fallen and even like Infinity War. It's like good effects work going on there. Especially with with Thanos in Infinity War and Kong and Peter Jackson's
And
King
now,
Kong.
I mentioned the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I will say that movie has some of the best CGI first that a Spider-Man movie has ever had. On top of the fact that it has the best Electro design. Like, say what you will about Jamie Foxx, say what you will about the electricity fixing the gap in his teeth. The amount of artistry and the amount of detail that went into the design of Electro, it is a marvel. I mean, it is a marvel, but it is a it is a miracle how they managed to look as good as it does, especially how the electricity behaves, because the electricity has an emotional language as well. So it's so I love it. I love that movie. It's so bad, but it's also just so good looking.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. There's still quite a bit that the movie gets a lot right. I would
It's
say.
so aesthetically pleasing, that movie. They will never make me hate the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I would absolutely say yeah, it's kind of a shame that the Tom Holland movies never really had like swing sequences that were as good as like what we've seen in the Raimi films or the Amazing Spider-Man films.
Yeah, part of the reason why was because John Watts felt like it's already been done before and he wanted to do something different, but also because he just didn't know how to do it. I think he just straight up admitted that he didn't know how to do it. So he'd just rather just avoid
Oh,
doing it where he could. Which I mean,
dang.
I'd rather just not see it at all if you don't know how to do it than just see someone who doesn't know how to do it try and do it. But then Far From Home gave us a relatively decent web swinging ending scene, and then No Way Home came along and we got a final swing that just looked so bad. It looks like it looked like he was just flailing in the air, not actually moving from point A to point B. Just
Yeah, that's a little awkward. Like it seemed like he was. It's like, oh, how are you swinging still? How does that work?
he's swinging, gaining momentum, all while moving like 2 centimeters away from the building he just jumped from. I don't know how that works.
How? Is it
I'm
just
pretty
showing
sure-
off? What the hell is happening?
How do you even gain momentum and then just move nowhere?
Oh, God. Oh.
Oh boy, yeah. I think also just the design of the suit doesn't let you like fully experience like the full speed of the web swinging because the little imperfections like the wrinkles help create a sense of like flowing wind whenever Spider-Man was swinging in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Whereas the suit is so skin tight in the MCU movies that where you just don't get that. It's just lost.
Yeah. Are you excited that the director of Shang-Chi is doing the next Spider-Man MCU movie?
I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy that this that moron is making
To be fair,
Spider-Man 4.
I mean, granted, I guess I'd probably rather have people who did Shang-Chi over Michael Waldron, who did Multiverse of Madness. I'd rather that, but still.
If all you got is bad directors, I'd rather have no one make Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, just don't make Spider-Man 4. Period. Just not even, like we don't need it. Just leave it alone.
Tom Holland is going to become a dad in like 2 months from now. He might as well. He might not even like be Spider-Man at that point. He might just retire, unless Disney hires a hitman to kill the child.
Well, wouldn't that be Sony technically?
No, because Disney is the one that's deeply interested in keeping Spider-Man around for as long as possible, whereas Sony just keeps the rights to the merchandising while also neglecting
And the
to
distribution
recognize
rights
their.
for the film. Yeah, Sony gets to distribute the film and whatever.
Speaking of which, like recently before the stream, I saw a news article of the first look at Spider-Man Noir, the Amazon TV show.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
With Nicolas Cage. It doesn't look bad. It looks it looks decent.
I don't know if I could get. I don't know if there's a way to get a look at it right now. Let me see.
I can pull it up.
Yeah, there's so little to talk about in regards to Godzilla right now that we're just talking about Spider-Man.
Yeah,
That's fine. I'm cool with it.
why are we talking about Godzilla? Spider-Man is coming out. Spider-Man
is coming out. I haven't seen a Brown Table video in a bit. I should check out how he's doing.
Sexual harassment.
This reminds me of Karl Marx.
Oh.
Oh, that was real?
Oh,
I thought that was fake because I saw that. I thought that was fake. That's real.
If that's real, holy shit, that looks pretty cool.
That looks awesome.
I mean, this is the first thing that popped up. I didn't know there was an actual teaser.
Yeah, I thought that was just like a photo, not a teaser. I thought that was fake.
Oh. Is this live action or animated?
Live action.
Live action. Okay. All right.
I consider
I am
interested.
I really love the visual look.
I like the suit. I really do like the suit. It looks very comic accurate.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
All he's missing is the gun, but that could be in the show at any point. So
this is like Sin City. Like
Sin City. It does look like Sin City. See, that's the photo I was talking about.
Holy shit, that looks awesome.
It does, yeah.
That actually looks pretty cool.
I want to watch it. I'm interested.
Oh, that's pretty good costume. I mean, obviously, this is just a photo, without the second one you just showed there
with the special effects. Yeah, you know what? That lighting with the lens reminds me of those James Lee animations. Y'all know who James Lee is?
I believe so.
No.
Yeah.
You should, dude. His content is freaking awesome, dude. The way he animates he's like a YouTube's version of Jim Carrey, but hyper stylized for animation. It's so, it's so good. His animations, I swear to God. But that's what it reminds me of. That like little lens effect.
Yeah, yeah. It pretty much looks like it looks animated, like, or at least it looks like a comic book. Like straight out of the pages, essentially. But the fact that it's live action, that's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, they could be doing like the James Lee slash Sin City animation style, or just
Yeah,
special effects thing. Which, if it is, then that's possibly like the most creative use of it that I have seen in ages, and I am down to watch that.
this looks pretty cool.
Imagine if this ends up being as good as the Penguin. Imagine how Sony would feel
I
if
have the Penguin
they're
on Blue. I have the Penguin on Blu-ray right now, so I have to get around to watching that.
you
The
have to
nearest.
watch the Penguin. But
I know.
imagine how fucking funny it would be if this show, this random ass show that nobody asked for but they're slightly interested in, ends up being a literal masterpiece. Imagine how angry Sony would feel. Like, we wasted years and money on Venom, on Morbius, on Craven the Hunter, and Madam fucking Weapon. This is the masterpiece people are looking for. This is the actual thing. Yes, Sony, we want movies and shows about Spider-Man related characters that are
Yeah,
actually spider people, like Mayday Parker, Miguel O'Hara, Ben Riley, and Kane Parker, Spider-Man Noir.
yeah,
Manga versus Spider-Man, we could have a manga versus Spider-Man anime. That's a thing. We could
yeah,
have a Penny Parker, although she's like a. I don't think anybody knew about a Penny Parker up until, like, Spider Verse came out. I knew about the SPDR robot. It's spelled SP//DR. I knew about him thanks to the Ultimate Spider-Man mobile game, which was unfortunately discontinued, but luckily recovered by mods. There's actually like a whole tutorial on YouTube how to get it.
nice.
There's a Discord server too, like that provides updates for the game. Um, but yeah, no, they brought it back with mods. The Ultimate Spider-Man Unlimited, they brought it back. So
All right.
for those interested, yeah, I would look that up because the game, it's a little funky, got a lot of bugs, but
Yeah.
other than
I
that, it
mean,
plays
yeah,
just as good as the original.
nice. Yeah, I mean, like the show, like obviously, it comes down to like how well executed the story that they're gonna tell with it. That's really that. I mean, that's the real important part. But I would say if nothing else, like they at least like the visuals like of it. They at least like nailed it. So
Yep.
there's a lot more promise with this one for sure.
Yep. But yeah, we've been talking about Spider-Man more than we've been talking about Godzilla. That's insane.
Right now, at least.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that just means that we've exhausted all the topics that we could have talked about.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
We've pretty much given our thoughts on what we have so far. I guess there'll be more to come down the line once we get more
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I just need to see a little more, because of Supernova, just so I can, like, I need a little more information at this point. Like, I don't need like specifics or leaks or anything. Like, I mean, in fact, I'm not asking for them. I'm just gonna like, just a little more in terms of like, okay, what is this movie actually going to be about? And what?
There were some leaks that I've read. I don't remember what they were, but I do remember them being stupid, and they were just so stupid that I thought they were real because, like, yeah, that kind of sounds like that sounds stupid, but also stupid enough that they would actually try and do it. So that's why I believed them, not because they made sense, but because they didn't make sense. But right now, I just decided, you know what? Because it's Gran Turismo, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, like, hasn't Marvel been doing the exact same thing where they just hire brand spanking new directors to herald, like, to inherit a massive multi-million-dollar franchise and handle characters from said franchises without a lick of understanding of how they work?
I don't know. I'd say it's definitely a thing where I think other studios have done it before, where they bring on these new directors because there's a bit more control they can have with them. I think like because Grant Spatore is like the newest director in terms of how many movies he's done, because all the other ones have had previous movie careers and some hits as well.
Yeah,
So
like
Yeah,
even the
he's just like the
MCU
one.
has even the MCU has had like like they've had like filmmakers like I mean like the one who did like even the one who did Thunderbolts did some projects before that you know.
And look how that turned out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like it's just he's made one good movie. Is that really enough to say that he might make a good movie out of GXK3? Like I don't know. I don't know. Because like it's hard to tell.
I
It's hard to tell.
so like, are you more worried about like the studios or the other people involved versus more so his skill set?
The thing is that if the studio gets involved, I don't think there would be a way to accurately gauge his skill set beyond I Am Mother. At which point he would need to make more movies independently to verify if it was just the studio that made the film what it was
Or
versus
he would just be like
him.
Or he would have to be like Christopher Nolan, where the studio would just be like, "All right, we
Just
trust
let
you."
him do what he wants. Just let him do what he wants. But even then, like, unless he makes more movies, whether they let him do what he wants or they control what he does, we're not gonna know until like much later when he decides to make another movie. So like, there's like up until now to when the movie comes out, there's not gonna be any way to tell.
Yeah,
I
Like
guess I
because
can see it.
new directors, because they're new directors, and because they're just trying to get a job, they're gonna choose the path of least resistance just to get their movie made. And they're if the studio says something, that goes because they don't have the authority or the capital or the notoriety and the just star power overall to like deny the studio anything. I mean, if it was anybody like I don't know, not Christopher Nolan, what's his name, Quentin Tarantino, he could possibly like flip off the studio and be like, I'm gonna do what I want, and he could get away with it because it's Quentin Tarantino. He's earned that right.
exactly.
But Grant Spatore has just the one movie under his belt. He can't afford to, even if he wanted to.
Yeah,
So like if the
that's
studio tries to control him, there's nothing that would be stopping them from doing so. And I think that's part of the reason why they would choose someone like him as opposed to someone like Guillermo del Toro. And
yeah. It's
so
kind of like at this point, all we could do is just kind of hope that like Grant Spatore, like and the people in the writers' room, what they just happen to like stumble upon like a good idea in the studio, be like, yep, sure, go right ahead, and then just let them do it.
Because I would say the studio at this point would probably only want like either a similar vibe or tone to what we've had so far with the Wingard films because of how successful they were. I would hope they wouldn't be forceful of certain things, other than maybe just wanting to have that same vibe, which I don't think is bad because I think I enjoyed the tone and vibe of those films. But I hope that would also just not get in the way of the writing.
I mean, given the nature of the MonsterVerse as how it was introduced in 2014 in Skull Island, it would necessarily have to get in the way in the writing, because you would naturally have to ignore darker stuff just to make room for the fun. So I think like the tone in the MonsterVerse in particular, it necessarily has to get in the way of the writing. Like you can't avoid that.
I mean, like 2014 started out very very grounded, very dark, and so on and so on. Kong Skull Island and King of the Monsters, they pretty much like were a little looser, in terms of tone, but not too much. So like they still took themselves pretty seriously overall. They weren't that lighthearted overall. But then and then once Wingard came in, like the tonal whiplash is just like so
Palpable,
it's so palpable that it's just like wow,
overwhelming.
It kind of hurts a little bit.
With Skull Island, I think that was like the perfect blend because it was humorous in areas where it made sense, and also just and also in a way that wasn't disrespectful to the situation or tone deaf to what was being experienced, because this is just like a Viet Cong movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like King of the Monsters. King of the Monsters, I would say also like they put in humor where it was kind of like like put in humor. King of the Monsters did put in humor also with that sort of like philosophy as Kong Skull Island. It's just the humor in King of the Monsters was nowhere near as good as in Kong Skull Island. So
Gonorrhea.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah,
for
I mean,
me, I think the humor is actually better in the Wingard films than in any other Monsterverse movie. Personally,
There was humor and
yeah.
I mean, by a technical standpoint, I guess you probably would have to say
Because
that.
for me, I think
didn't
in
think
King of
of
the
I
Monsters
couldn't
and
find a single
somewhat,
joke. Like,
well, it's
were there
for
jokes?
me. Well,
Like-
it's jokes and also just like humorous moments, I guess, with some of the character writing,
I can't.
which
For
I
the
like
li-
more
I've,
than like.
I've seen the movie
like-
like I don't know what, like 5 times. For the life of me, I can't think of a joke like off the top. I can't think of one.
The biggest
like
joke
the
is you've seen it
Bleach
5 times.
Maybe like the bleach thing. Maybe like the bleach. I guess that.
I like that. I think that's pretty funny.
How about I've said this before and I say it again. This is predicated on, Bernie being like a schizo podcaster, conspiracy theorist. He is a fake conspiracy theorist. He's the conspiracy theorist the CIA would send to discredit other conspiracy theorists and make them look crazy by comparison. He's like he's a psyop. He's a psyop conspiracy theorist. He's not a real he's a type of person. You know how there are those e-girls that have these Confederate flags and just fascist flags on Twitter, and it's always just to promote their OnlyFans. That's how they're psyops. They pretend to be edgy just to appeal to guys that are into edgy stuff, but it's the same concept, but like with politics and with real world scenario stuff. It's a psyop. It's fake. It's a fake. I've never seen a more stereotypical. It's so stereotypical that it just I instinctually recoil and go, yeah, no, this is a fake conspiracy theorist. These people have no idea what a real conspiracy theorist is.
Yeah, like when he mentions like how like, oh, there's 2 King Ghidorah skulls, like one in here, one in the rope in Mecha Godzilla. It's like both. It's like
How
no.
would he even know that?
How would he know that? Like, and how do we know that that's true, or if you're just talking out of your ass right now?
A lot of these things.
Because I know for a fact that there was only one Ghidorah skull that was seen in King of the one Ghidorah head disembodied in King of the Monsters. That's Kevin.
Yeah,
I don't see a second one in that movie at all.
A lot of these things that the Bernie apparently knows, it's entirely reliant on Bernie looking ahead in the plot, instead of just actually having a through line of him just actually discovering these things. So there's like no way he should know what he does. He just knows because the plot says so.
Yeah, like there should be like more of when he, like that moment when he sees like goes to like subsection 33 or something like that, and he's all like, "No way!" When he sees like the schematics for the eye, he should have been like that throughout the whole movie. Like during that whole quest, to be like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, there's a whole segment of Bernie dedicated to Bernie and my GVK.
Like, dude, he was like, "Dude, I was just troll." Yeah, he should have been like, "Look, I was just winging it. I was just taking a guess. I didn't think that this was actually real. Holy shit!" Like, they should have just been like that.
I think it would have made it worse, actually. But it would have made it
I don't
funny.
know.
But it would actually, I think it would make it funnier, but it would make it like narratively worse, because at that point,
I don't know if it would make it. I mean, I guess it depends on how. I guess it's like how they do it, really. Like whether or not it's better or worse. Funnier.
Yeah,
Sure.
because at that point, his entire existence is just a waste of time. But yeah, no, I have an entire segment, like in a lot of things dedicated to Bernie in my GVK video. I do not like Bernie whatsoever. He's a fake conspiracy theorist. And also just like overall his demeanor is he's very annoying. Like I don't think anybody in real life, even if they would act like that, I don't think.
I don't know. I find him endearing. I really like his character.
His wife died.
It's so sad.
That's his wife died. That's the most we get. I mean, it kind of makes sense. There would be like that's not even a motivation. That's just a backstory, which I mean, I guess is like fine, but like, yeah, I mean, in a world like this, I would assume there would be like a lot of dead anybody's, just everybody's.
Only 8 people died. You know, in the
all the ape people died. What did you mean by that?
What the fuck?
Only 8 people died in the Monsterverse.
Oh,
Only
all the
8.
ape. Oh, I heard all the ape people. Oh,
Oh
I was about to say, Vic. I didn't know
No,
you was
no,
like. I didn't know you was built like that.
I was about to tell Zim about that.
I didn't know you was smooth like that. That was. Oh man. Vic,
Forte.
Nobody told Twitter.
Oh no.
Twitter's gonna flip it. Oh, but just that was crazy. Oh, but I think I'm gonna call it.
Yeah,
I have to
I'm gonna
wake up in,
call
like,
it as well.
6 hours. But yeah, no, it's been
Alrighty,
great.
guys.
It's been great being here.
Yeah,
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 I'm glad you guys came on. It's a pleasure.
yeah.
the pleasure is mine for me to tear the Monsterverse a new asshole anytime.
Okay,
I
but
have
when are
the
you gonna invite me
opportunity.
to a black screen?
I don't know when I'm gonna do another black screen. Actually, like I've been so busy lately that I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make another black screen till like I don't know, maybe like 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 months, 6 months. I don't know, 6 months. I don't know.
I want to say that my next Sea Monster live stream would be like this coming Saturday. It's just a matter of like what it's going to be about. I've just been having the hardest time about. So I don't know. I don't know if it will be then or next Saturday. I'm not sure. But in the meantime, yeah, GXK video is coming along pretty nicely, really nicely actually. So just kind of working on that.
All right, then I guess if there's anything more you guys want to shell out, you guys can do that, and then we'll probably close it off now. Then.
All right.
Well,
no.
Rock paper scissors over who goes first. Flip a coin. I don't know. Russian roulette.
I guess I'll let Black go first, and then Sea Monster.
Right. I mean, because it's alphabetical order, right? B, C, right? Makes sense. Black Rooney. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Discord. You can find me on Rivals. I sometimes, like once a week for like 2 hours, play Rivals. So if you want to see me walk into a wall, slow walking into a wall as Emma Frost while looking up, you can probably guess what I'm doing right now. Yeah. Black screen. Don't know when I'm gonna make another one. Might go on hiatus. GVK video might not come out this year, I'm afraid. But however, I am offering my editorial services. So if anybody wants to hire me as their editor, I am more than willing to comply. I am willing to work at any price, even if it's like 1 cent, because I like editing. And what else? Watch as recommendations. I guess watch Invincible. Invincible is one of the greatest shows that has been coming out in the past 5 years. Watch Troll, it's a movie on Netflix, kaiju movie. Technically a kaiju movie. It's really good. It's getting a sequel, so that's exciting. And read Berserk. And I request reparations for Adam Wingard's shenanigans, his tomfoolery, that hooligan. I request reparations.
All right. And Sea Monster.
Well, this has been your guest, the Sea Monster. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, working on my GXK video. Definitely gonna be a long min. Definitely will be out this some point this year, either this month or in June. No later than June, though. Like at this rate. So there is that. I host live streams, See Monster Live. Not sure if I'm going to be hosting one this Saturday or the next. I guess it just depends on like what the topic will be. Whether I can find like a topic that would be that would actually be kind of worth covering this Saturday or not. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you folks on that one. But I do host those live streams. And I do make essay videos as well, so stay tuned for all that goodness. You can find me on Twitter, CMonster. And as far as recommendations go watch Nosferatu 2024. It's awesome. Go watch Mission Impossible Fallout, also pretty awesome. Probably would have to watch the other ones that came before it, for context. But yeah, Fallout's pretty great. So there is that. And go watch The Batman. Is another random recommendation.
Something in my ass.
Yeah, that
in
one.
my ass. Yeah.
Okay, and that just about does it for me. All right, have a good night, folks.
All right. Have a good night, guys. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming on, both the guests and the viewers. Over and out. Peace.